Naruto was looking around his building, trying to get his bearings on where he needed to go and where he was most needed. "Naruto," called Karen, popping up over the wall at the edge of the rooftop. "What's going on?" "We're under attack," he answered simply, sending her an invite immediately. "What do? We find the other rookies, then we go to war and kick the ass of whoever was dumb enough to attack my home." Naruto's voice had a clear edge of anger to it, but then who could blame him? This situation would make anyone angry. Karen nodded silently. "Find the other rookies, Karen," ordered Naruto, interrupting her. Karen nodded once again, then closed her eyes. After a moment of silence, "Tenten-san is closest, followed by Sakura-san," said Karen, opening her eyes looking to the northwest. Naruto nodded. Karen was looking directly toward Higarashi's shop. With a burst of chakra, Naruto and Karen vanished from the roof in a burst of speed, hopping from one roof to the next. They stopped just across from Higarashi's shop. The windows appeared to be barricaded with lots of sharp pointy objects sticking out, just waiting to impale any shinobi stupid enough to get too close. "So do we knock?" asked Karen. Naruto formed a clone and sent it down to street level, arms raised. "Yo, Higurashi-san, Stabby-chan, you guys here?" "Naruto, that you my boy?" called Hidden from inside. "Yeah, prove it. What was the first thing I ever sold you?" "Some armor, olive and black jacket and black pants," replied the clone. "It's him," said Hidden, to someone inside, probably Tenten. Suddenly the ground under the clone opened and it fell into a tunnel before the ground above it closed up without a seam. "Yo, Naruto, what's up?" asked Tenten, grinning. Her face was barely illuminated by the glow of a lantern. "Just a clone, boss is up on the roof across the street. So he sent you as the sacrificial lamb in case we didn't believe you were who you claimed to be." "Exactly. Anyway, trying to gather a team, there are a lot of people out there that need help. You want to join us?" "Dad, you good here on your own?" "I'm fine, go do your job," called back Hidden. "Right, then, I'll dispel to let boss know," said the clone, only to have Tenten stab him. Naruto blinked at the rush of memories, no matter how short-lived the clone was. "Was that really necessary?" asked Naruto, once Tenten finally joined him and Karen on the roof. "Don't call me Stabby-chan ever again or I'll cut you," she replied, smiling sweetly through her statement. "Right, gotcha," said Naruto. He took a second to consider if he should invite Tenten to his team with the game system. It was a risk, but it might be a bigger risk not to invite her. "I'm going to add you too, a support genjutsu." "A what now?" asked Tenten. Naruto didn't feel the need to repeat himself, so he invited Tenten. "Gah, what the hell is that?" she questioned, scrambling backwards a little only to have the floating blue window follow her. "I told you, it's a special genjutsu type thing," he said. "Basically, it allows you to treat the world like a video game. So touch the accept, and let's go get as many of my friends as we can. We'll help as many civilians and shinobi as we can along the way." Tenten tentatively reached out and tapped the button, then blinked a few times. "What exactly does this do?" "Come on, I'll explain on the way. Sakura is still close, right?" "Yeah, she's just that way. I think she's in trouble though, her chakra is draining fast," said Karen. The group moved fast to find Sakura, Naruto doing his best to briefly explain how the gamer genjutsu worked. When they found her, she was trying to use medic jutsu on someone, tears falling from her eyes as she worked. Karen quickly moved ahead to join her and help as much as she could. "We'll protect them while they work," said Naruto, glancing at Tenten. A solemn nod was the only reply needed. "She's stable, Sakura. We need to move her," said Karen, stopping her jutsu. Sakura barely nodded, tears still flowing. When the two girls stepped away, Naruto recognized the woman Sakura was treating as her mother. Naruto invited Sakura to the group, finally then formed a few clones to carry Sakura's mother. The group moved quickly to the hospital. Luckily there was no trouble from the Anbu surrounding the place, making sure that no one unsavory was able to get through. Once inside, Mebuki was quickly taken by one of the Irionen and rushed out of sight. "Do you want to stay here, Sakura?" asked Naruto, trying to be thoughtful. She shook her head. "My dad is still out there. He distracted the Sunanin, told mom and I to run. I didn't know that my mom had been hurt until she collapsed back there. I should have stayed to help him. I should have." "It's okay, we'll go help him now," said Naruto. "Yo, Naruto," called Kiba, walking in with Shino and Hinata. Between him and Shino they were helping a limping and bloody Kurenai into the hospital. You guys okay? Yeah, thanks to Kurenai-sensei, Kiba answered solemnly. Is she okay? She is fine, you overprotective brats, complained Kurenai. There was a bloody gash on her forehead and few slices along her right side from shoulder to ankle. Anyo, sensei, you need to get some treatment, stuttered Hinata, nervously. I know, and I would have gotten here eventually, she argued, snapping a little at Hinata. Naruto pulled out a stack of shozen fuda and started applying them to the various cuts on the Junin, seeing as she probably would get help for a while given her injuries were somewhat minor to many of those just starting to come in. Those seals are rather handy, complimented Kurenai. I do my best, said Naruto. You've impressed Yuahi Kurenai greatly, your reputation increases by 1,000 points. You are now friendly. Naruto ignored the message, subtly closing it without drawing much attention. Leave me with some of those, I'll finish up, said Kurenai. For now, all of you genin need to get back out there and assist with evacuating the civilians. Naruto, you're in charge. Kiba, Shino and Hinata, I expect you to follow orders. And Naruto, you'd better keep them safe. Naruto handed her 10 more fuda as requested. I'll keep them safe, he promised. Let's get moving, people's lives are at risk and the longer we laze about here the more of them end up dead. Naruto gave them a moment to accept what he said before motioning for them to follow him outside. Now, I'm going to add you 3 to my support genjutsu, said Naruto, once outside. What is a support genjutsu? Asked Shino, his head cocked slightly to the side. This, said Naruto, silently sending each of them an invite. Curious, said Shino, reaching out and tapping the button. I suppose this emulates a video game user interface. How interesting. Hinata was a bit timid about it, even activating her Byakugan in an attempt to see through it without any success. Finally she gently tapped the floating button. Ha, this is awesome, said Kiba, tapping the button immediately, grinning broadly. Who knew you'd be able to do something like this? Dude, really, even after I kicked your ass, you're still going to talk down on me like that? Asked Naruto, more than a little annoyed. You know what, never mind, forget it. There are more important things going on tonight Kiba, so fall in line and follow orders. Kiba sobered a bit. You're right, not the time for this. Good, now, our mission is to evacuate as many civilians as possible. The priority is getting anyone trapped behind enemy lines out first and then work in toward the city center. Is that clear? A series of nods followed. Good plan, Naruto, said a lazy drawl stepping out of the shadows followed by his team. Naruto grinned and sent them all an invite, even Ino. What the hell is this? She all but screamed. A support genjutsu, replied Naruto. Just touch the accept button. I'll explain how it works on the way. Shikamaru, set up our formation and run us through some possible scenarios for where we're going. Troublesome, complained the young man. Choji, Naruto, and Kiba you lead the group. Hinata, I want you on Naruto's hip at all times, if you see anything with your Byakugan, you tell him immediately. Karen, Sakura, you follow directly behind them, keep them alive. Shino, Ino, and myself will follow them and provide range support and damage as needed. That leaves Tenten taking a trail position, stay high and in the shadows as best you can. On a cloudy night like tonight there will be plenty of places to hide so pay special attention to Karen and Hinata as they are probably going to sense or see anyone that you can snipe for us. As to combat itself, it is very unlikely with the sensors we have that anyone will be able to sneak up on us. That means we can enjoy attacking them head-on without worrying about being ambushed. Ideally we want to avoid combat altogether. Our mission is to evacuate trapped civilians, however we can't ignore the fact that it will probably happen. We will be forced to fight, probably just Chunin and Genin. The Junin will be engaging other Junin, they'll be the ones making the biggest push into the village while the Chunin are trying clean up any civilians or injured shinobi, leaving their Genin squads running supplies in and any wounded out. The most troublesome thing, we can't allow any injured shinobi to escape. We can't afford for them to get treatment and rejoin the fight. It's a pain in the ass and I know none of you want to but we don't have a choice. By the same token, their genin can't be allowed to complete their missions, they can be killed or captured, just be mindful of the situation. We're not in a good position to take prisoner, why? Because we will be escorting civilians, easy and tempting targets for any genin, captured or not, offered Shino. I don't like it, but I agree with Shino, said Naruto, frowning. He never liked taking lives, Even if he'd done it a few times now, it just didn't sit well with him. Anyway, from the little intelligence I've gathered since we headed here, we're being invaded by Suna and Oto. So be wary of Futon Jutsu and the mishmash of the Oto Nin. I don't know if they have any kind of affinity. Sound, said Naruto. Those genin in the exam, they used sound-based techniques. Well, mostly. It's something at least. Okay, so Kiba and Akamaru, be mindful of that, we don't want you to end up injured unnecessarily, Shikamaru added. Any questions before we go? Why are you and Naruto in charge? Asked Ino. Kurenai-sensei put Naruto-san in charge. Why? It is very likely he will be promoted to Chunin rank with the completion of the exams, thus meaning he is capable of leading a squad of shinobi. Shino's explanation was blunt and to the point, even as odd as his speech pattern was. Ino nodded once. Okay, so how does this support genjutsu work? I'll explain on the way. We're heading towards Sakura's neighborhood first. It's mostly civilians living there and we know that there has been some skirmishing there. Naruto jumped up to the nearest rooftop followed by the other genin, leading the way. We need to move to our left. There are 4 Junin in combat to the right, stuttered Hinata softly. Naruto nodded and made the turn as Hinata recommended. It took a while for them to weave through the village, stopping occasionally to clear out a building that was close to the fighting. When they did, they would have to backtrack until they were beyond any combat areas to send the civilians to the shelters at the base of the Hokage monument. It was slow progress but necessary, especially with fighting occurring so nearby. Finally, after almost an hour, they were able to get into the more active areas. The first place they checked was near Sakura's home. All they found was a dead Suna nin. That's the one that attacked us, so my dad is still alive, she said in relief. That's good. Any signs of life in the area? Asked Naruto, looking to Karen and Hinata. Anyo, see some civilians over there, said Hinata, her already light complexion paling. What is it? They are being dragged out of their home by some Oto shinobi, said Hinata, deactivating her Byakugan and closing her eyes. Karen, let us in, said Naruto. It was obvious Hinata saw something more than unpleasant. It took less than a minute to find the attackers and less than that for the full force of Naruto's team to descend upon them like locusts. Sakura, Karen, cover the women and prepare them to move, ordered Naruto. Everyone else, form a perimeter while our medics work. There is a child still inside the house. It looks like his mother was able to hide him before, said Hinata. I'll go get him. It didn't take long before the group was ready to move again. Hinata, do you see any other civilians nearby? 2 houses over, there are 2 children, both hiding but the parents are gone. Kiba, I want you and Akamaru to get those kids. Make sure cover their eyes when you bring them out. Kiba nodded solemnly, moving ahead quickly to accomplish the task. So many people, how could anyone do this? Asked Ino. Greed, hate, fear, any of these things could lead to war, answered Shikamaru. There's a group of shinobi heading right for us, Karen added. I think they may have a sensor with them because they were heading west of us before suddenly turning and coming right for us. So an ambush is pointless, said Shikamaru. We'll have to meet them head on. Sakura, Hinata, Shino and Choji, stay with the civilians, protect them. Work on getting them out of this area and anyone else you can find along the way. We'll rejoin you as soon as we can. Okay, so the group coming for us is most likely made up of Chunin from what I can sense, and there are 4 of them. There is one up on the roof running above them while the other 3 are running between the buildings and alleys, explained Karen. I'm not sure about anything else. You heard the lady, let's go say hello, ordered Naruto. Tenten, take out the one on the roof, he's most likely a spotter. Kiba, Akamaru, use that Garoga thing as soon as they are in sight. You might get lucky and hit one of them, but at the very least you'll separate them. Shika, stay with Kiba, he might need some time to recover once his technique ends. You 2 will work together to take out the one that ends up closest to you. Sakura, Ino, tag team whoever ends up closest to us. That will leave me and Karen cleaning up whoever is left. Wordlessly, everyone moved to follow through with Naruto's plan. Kiba and Akamaru transformed into the giant 2-headed wolf and led the way. If the situation hadn't been so serious, the almost comical look on the Chunin's faces when they turned the corner to see them would have made them all laugh themselves to death. Garoga, shouted Kiba Akamaru, instantly becoming Twister of death and destruction. They tore down the narrow street, ripping up the stone of the roadway as they passed, successfully causing the invaders to separate. Then one of the fools tried to attack the Twister, leaping at it only to be shredded within seconds of attempting his attack. Shikamaru stayed close behind Kiba so that when they got to the other side of the shinobi, the group was caught between them. Shabu Yoriku LV-29. Dari Baku LV-31. Were the names of the two Naruto could see, he could vaguely hear the clanks and clangs of steel above him. Tenten had obviously engaged. Fucking kids, shouted Yoriku. We were chasing after some fucking kids. Shut up, Yoriku. Those kids just killed Rangu. Don't underestimate them, you fucking pussy, Baku. I'll kill them all myself, raged Yoriku. The man started to charge forward only to suddenly slow, his eyes turning vacant for a moment. Baku acted quickly, throw a shuriken at Yoriku, hitting him in the arm and snapping him out of the genjutsu Sakura was attempting to place. You asshole, what was that for? You almost got caught in a genjutsu, snapped Baku. Now fucking pay attention, Yoriku snarled before turning to focus on the problem at hand. Yo, dumbasses, called Naruto, drawing both of their attentions. If you're done bickering, I'd like to kill you now. Ha, shouted Yoriku, as if some wet behind the ears bratas go. Anything Yoriku was going to say further was cut off when a shadow clone burst from the ground and jammed a kunai into the back of his head, killing him instantly. Sakura, Ino, go up and help Tenten, we can handle this guy, ordered Shikamaru. Che, Baku clicked his tongue. Some fucking kids, huh? Well, I guess I'll have to take you kids seriously. It's already too late, said Shikamaru, smirking as his face was illuminated by a bit of moonlight peeking through the cloud coverage. Naruto understood as did Kiba, both of them rushed forward. Naruto with his chakra in hand and Kiba with Shiro Sume. The pair passed on opposite sides of Baku, Kiba's claws gutting him and Naruto's knives slitting his throat. Baku died within seconds from the blood loss. Tenten, Ino and Sakura all dropped down from the rooftops just as the fight ended. Piece of cake, said Tenten, smiling happily. You get way too much joy out of stabbing people, commented Ino. Yeah, so, let's go, we need to catch up with the others, ordered Naruto. He was in no mood to joke around. Naruto and his group rejoined the genin that were escorting the civilians within a minute, easily guiding them out of the area. It seemed there was a lull in the fighting in the area that the fighting had migrated to another area. Naruto, this area is empty, I can't sense anyone else in the area, said Karen. So it's fully evacuated then? Or there is just no one left alive, she replied sadly. Okay, then we move on to the next area, ordered Naruto. Where do you sense the most civilian signatures remaining? That way, she answered pointing east, directly toward the area the Suna delegation was residing. I was afraid of that, said Naruto. Okay guys and girls, when we get to that area it is probably going to get really dangerous. Gaara is probably over there and if he is I'll have to fight him again. So, can't you just use your seals again? Asked Kiba. I'm certainly going to try. That said, once he and I start fighting, all of you need to continue with the mission. Shikamaru's in charge, he'll get you all out of this mess alive. Understood. There was no argument from his friends, they understood the situation. Saving lives was the mission. I'm staying with you, said Sakura bluntly. You might need someone to heal you as you fight. Naruto frowned and would have argued but the look on her face was enough for Naruto to know she was completely serious. Fine, but you keep your distance and be safe. Sakura nodded. Right then, let's move out, ordered Naruto, taking the lead and moving the group forward. Stop, called Hinata, when the group was still a block away from the target area. What is it? I don't see a way through, she replied, stuttering slightly. There is fighting going on all around us, but especially in front of us. Troublesome, groused Shikamaru. Can you see any favorable matchups? Any groups that are likely to overwhelm the invading shinobi that if we were to provide even a little assistance it would get us through? There is a group of 10 Chunin and a Junin fighting 6 Chunin and 2 Junin over there but I'm not sure who will win that one, she said pointing to their left. Then are 2 Anbu over there fighting 1 Junin, she pointed to her right. We assist the Anbu, said Naruto. Don't attack unless you're certain you'll succeed. Use ranged attacks only and for Kami's sake, don't hit the Anbu. After we help the Anbu, we can possibly get them to help that larger group. Troublesome, Shikamaru complained yet again. Okay, if we're going to do this then let's be smart about it. Number 1, we don't get close to the enemy. Number 2, we don't get close to the enemy. Number 3, Ino, don't you dare try to take over the enemy. we can't afford to carry around dead weight if you miss or worse take over one of the Anbu and get them killed. 4. Hinata, I want you with Tenten while we do this. You need to make sure no one can sneak up on us. Finally, 5. Don't hold anything back. Okay, we'll use a two-prong attack to try and catch them between us. Naruto, Sakura, Shino, and Kiba, you'll take the left prong. Ino, Choji, Karen and I will take the right prong. You heard the man, said Naruto. Let's go before someone finds us and decides they want to kill us. The group split into their 3 small teams with Tenten and Hinata staying where they were, the latter keeping her Byakugan active and watching. Naruto lead his group through the alley keeping to the left of the Anbu pair. Once they were directly below the fight, he signaled a stop then began a silent countdown with his fingers. As soon as his fist closed ending the countdown the group leapt up to the rooftop. Neko LV, Tora LV, Baki LV. Naruto instantly recognized Yugao's purple hair despite her name and level being hidden by her Anbu mask. The other Anbu might have been Hayate but there was no easy way to know, not that it mattered. Futon. Kei's no Yaba no Jutsu instantly flew from Naruto's fingertips at Baki while his teammates did their best to throw kunai, spit water bullets, rock bullets, or fireballs at the surprised Junin. Baki's surprise was short-lived as he was quick to get out of the path of the slow-moving jutsu and directly into the path of the Anbu. The man was forced onto the defensive as the Anbu pair renewed their assault on the Junin, swords clashing regularly. The Suna Junin hammered a kick into Tora's chest knocking him to the ground. He then ducked an over-exaggerated slice from Neko that would have taken off the man's head if it connected. Baki rushed forward toward the downed Anbu looking to finish the man off when he suddenly lost balance as the entire roof began shaking. Naruto wobbled a little from the shaking rooftop doing his best not to fall off or fall down. A quick glance across the rooftop showed a giant Choji foot stomping. It served to save Tora's life. Once the tremor ended, the fight renewed between the Junin and the Anbu. Baki was certainly showing some annoyance on his face if the sneer was anything to go by. He flicked his fingers toward the interlopers in an effort to get them out of the way only to have his attack stopped when the blonde genin imitated the same motion followed by a loud screeching sound as wind met wind canceling each other out. The Junin suddenly froze as he felt something pierce his side. He looked down in horror to see a blade sticking out the left side of his stomach. You should have stayed to make sure I died, whispered the Anbu in his ear. Baki lashed out with own sword only to have it blocked by Neko's blade. Neko's parry easily knocked aside the attack on her partner. She followed up with a quick flick of her blade cutting off the Suna Junin's fingers and causing the blade to fall to the rooftop, clattering uselessly and completely out of Baki's reach. Tora jerked his blade out sideways from Baki's gut opening the man up, he then drove the blade back in severing the man's spine, killing him instantly. He finally kicked his back pulling the blade free once more and allowing the Junin to fall to the roof. Naruto couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when the fight ended. Genin, attend, ordered Neko, harshly. The 12 Genin quickly assembled for the Anbu, Hinata and Tenten joined then. Explain. We were ordered to assist with the evacuation of civilians, answered Naruto. We got Pen trying to enter this area. We had to make a choice, assist you or assist a larger group. I chose to assist you believing that providing assistance for you would end your fight considerable faster than if we assisted with the larger skirmish. Neither Neko nor Tora responded for a moment. Where is this larger skirmish? About 6 blocks that way, answered Hinata nervously. We will provide them assistance. Continue on with your mission. And just like that the 2 Anbu vanished. Bonus objective completion awarded. 250,000 express. Quest alert. Save Konoha. The village is under attack. Do everything in your power to protect both the village and its citizens. Objectives. Gather a team to assist you in defending the village. Safely escort 50 civilians to safety. 32 50ths. Defeat 20 members of the invading force. 11 20ths. Defeat Shukaku. Bonus objectives. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Assist Hayate and Yugao in defeating Baki. Completion award. 1 million express. 250,000 express per bonus objective. Completion failure. Destruction of the Konoha. Imprisonment, torture, and death. Naruto closed the window. Let's get back to it team. Once the group had gotten past that front line area they were able to easily search and evacuate civilians from the area. Even on their way back out of the area the fighting seemed to have slowed down considerably or just moved again. Uzumaki Naruto, cried out a crazed voice, drawing the attention of all of the genin. There he was, standing atop one of the taller buildings in the area, staring at Naruto and his team. Uzumaki Naruto, I've been waiting for you. I have to kill you. Mother demands it. Suddenly the group was bombarded by bullets of sand, the poor civilians with them didn't stand a chance against it. Go, get them out of here, ordered Naruto, pointing down the alley even as he jumped for the rooftop to face down Gaara. You want me, come get me, taunted Naruto, easily drawing the crazed boy away from his team. Naruto moved quickly away from the village with Gaara hot on his trail. He ignored all the fighting around him, his only goal was to get Gaara away from the village. If his quest was right, he was going to be forced to fight against Shukaku, and the last thing he or the village needed was a rampaging Biju in the middle of downtown Konoha. Coward, you will fight me, I will feed your blood to mother. Only if your slow ass can catch me. Naruto had to keep taunting him, he couldn't afford for Gaara to turn back. It was a bitch to kite him like this, but if it saved lives then it was totally worth it. He had a few close calls as he ran, moments in which the sand had latched onto his belt, or his foot, but even still he escaped and kept running and taunting. Once Naruto was finally over the village wall and a fair distance into the forest, he stopped and turned to face off with Gaara. Finally done running? Hey, I just wanted to make sure we could fight without any interruptions, replied Naruto. Liar, you were afraid of what I might do to the village, replied Gaara, his grin looking even more demonic. But that's okay, this just makes it more fun. First, mother gets your blood. Then mother gets the blood of everyone else. I don't think so, said Naruto, reaching into his pouch to find it missing. Looking for this? Asked Gaara, holding up the missing pouch, the boy's sand swallowing the pouch whole a second later. This time, you won't be able to stop me or mother. Naruto swallowed nervously, his hope of ending this quickly and completely preventing Shukaku from ever emerging just vanished. I guess we'll have to do this the hard way then, pulling his chakra to even as the words left his mouth. Gaara struck first, his hands directing the sand to attack, Naruto's chakra to easily cut through the tendrils, disturbing Gaara's control for a moment, but only just a moment, as the sand was quick to reform and resume its attack. Not seeing another way to keep up at this point, Naruto activated Kyuubi's cloak One Tail. He was still at 27% corruption from using it earlier in the day, but he didn't have much choice if he wanted to survive. So with about 13 minutes to use the cloak without being taken over, he was quickly on the offensive. Futon Hin no Jutsu, boosted by a bit of Kyuubi's chakra, gave Gaara a nasty surprise. It cut through the boy's armor, gashing his arm deeply and leaving a nice bleed effect behind. You should probably get that looked at, suggested Naruto. You'll die of blood loss soon enough if you don't. So why don't you just pack up and go home? You cut me. How do you keep hurting me? It should be possible. I'll kill you, he screamed. Naruto felt the ground tremble slightly before there was a large explosion below, erupting in a giant cloud of sand. When his vision finally cleared, he was staring down Shukaku. And there, in the center of the beast's forehead, was Gaara, glaring at him with hate and loathing. Oh hell, groaned Naruto. Luckily his stats were still amped from having the cloak active, so he began the hand seals he'd need if he wasn't to even stand a chance at facing down the Ikibi. Kuchio's no Jutsu. Naruto found himself suddenly elevated above the tree line, able to look Gaara in the eye. He cautiously looked down to see who he'd summoned. Gamabunta LV, what the hell is this? Groused the giant toad, blowing a large puff of tobacco smoke. I summoned you, answered Naruto. I need help against that guy, please. Why the hell should I help you? You haven't even been properly recognized as a subordinate. I know, boss, but the situation is dire. Konoha is under attack, and if we don't stop this guy the village will be destroyed, pleaded Naruto. Grr, I suppose I can help you out this once. But next time you summon me, you'd better be prepared to be properly tested. I'll be ready, thank you so much, boss. How interesting, shouted Gaara, his voice coming from the sand construct and him at the same time. Mother will be so pleased. Tanuki Niri no Jutsu, yada, I've finally come out, and I see someone I want to kill. What the hell is that? Asked Naruto, shocked by the sudden change in personality. The host let the beast take control. Things just got a lot more difficult. The giant toad was quick to leap away from the giant tanuki, firing a few giant balls of water at the same time, more to create a distraction than anything else. Gaara, or rather Shukaku, ignored the water in whole even as it tore chunks of its sand-made body. sand, which was quick to reform and fill in the gaps. It did knock down the Biju's HP a little, but it was regenerating just as fast as the sand reformed. Oh, this guy is going to be a pain in the ass to stop, groused Naruto. Hey, we can't stop the Biju, kid. I'm not that strong, you'd need me and my brothers just to hold him down to be sealed away. Our goal is going to be to wake up the stupid brat on his forehead. Do that, and we might have a chance, a slim chance but still a chance. Great, I'm open to suggestions, replied Naruto loudly. He wasn't sure how loud he'd need to be for the giant toad to hear him. Don't suppose you know a few fire jutsu? Nope, but I've done Futon, Gamayuden no Jutsu with Kichi a bunch. We could probably use that to hold the giant bastard if you know it. Why didn't you say so? After the next volley we counter with it. I suggest you start channeling Futon chakra into me now. Gamabunta dodged the air blasts as planned, for as large as the toad was he was shockingly agile. Futon. Gamayuden no Jutsu. Futon. Gamayuden no Jutsu. The jet of wind-charged oil spewed from the chief's mouth, quickly enveloping the Biju in oil that rapidly hardened. The chief toad then took his pipe and flicked it at the Biju, causing the embers to fly at the encased Biju. It only took one spark for the beast to be completely enveloped in flames, including Gaara. Gaara's screamed in pain signaled the end of his sleep, but also that he was back in control. Still, the beast was melting beneath him. In desperation he swiped one of the giant paws, ejecting himself from the sand construct. He flew away from the glowing sand construct, now covered in a glowing red glob of melted sand. Finish the construct, boss, I'll go after Gaara, called Naruto, leaping off the boss's head without waiting for a reply. Naruto followed the glowing glass-covered Jinchuriki further from the village walls. When he finally found Gaara, the boy was very unhappy looking. He had jagged chunks of glass lodged painfully in his skin. There were several angry red burn marks and the start of some very nasty burn blisters. All told, he had to be in tremendous pain. How? I don't understand, how could you beat me? Croaked Gaara pathetically, leaning heavily against a tree, which had to be even more painful given the burns he no doubt had on his back as well. Because I'm protecting my precious people. Someone told me once that when you have something to protect, you'll become truly strong. You threatened those most precious to me, answered Naruto, lowering his guard. I think if it weren't for them, I might have turned out just like you. That loneliness, it's a terrible burden, isn't it? The way it pulls at you, tries to break you. Yes, it is, answered Gaara. The boy seemed to slump down, completely exhausted at last. Kuchiyos. Kurikiri mai no Jutsu. Naruto didn't have any time to even try Doden. Kabe no Jutsu to put up a wall or chakra reinforcement to at least reduce the damage. It was worse than that though, because he was about to turn and leave the defeated boy when he was assaulted by a vicious wind that seemed to cut through everything around him. He was starting to feel a bit of panic as his own HP was rapidly draining too. The only thing he could do was activate and deactivate Kyuubi's cloak as rapidly as he could and hope it could at the very least keep him alive. And survive he did, if only just. The bleed effect that her technique left behind was unbelievable. He was suffering bleed damage of 5,000 per 5 seconds. Stay away from him, snarled a young female voice. Naruto recognized her as Temari, Gaara's sister. She looked fierce as she did her best to stand as a shield between Gaara and himself. So much for now having anyone precious to protect, Gaara. Temari, why, you're my brother, she answered simply, as if it should have been the most obvious thing in the world. But why, after how I treated you? Doesn't matter, you and Kankuro are my brothers. I'm supposed to protect you both, especially when your life is in danger. Naruto was impressed. The girl had clearly drained almost all of her chakra with that technique, and his corruption was going up rapidly with each time he activated and deactivated the cloak that was keeping him alive. It's okay, Temari, we're leaving, said Gaara, trying to stand and wincing as he did so. What do you mean we're leaving? He almost killed you, we should finish him while he's hurt, she protested, despite the sweat dripping from her face and he labored breath. I was just leaving, Naruto tried to interject. He couldn't afford another fight right now. Ha, as if we'll let you, shouted Temari. It's enough, we've lost this fight, said Gaara. It's time to retreat. But Gaara, enough, it's time to go, he ordered. Then looked at Naruto, met him eye to eye. I hope we meet again, as friends. Me too, I don't want to fight you or your sister again, offered Naruto, trying not to provoke anything further and maybe even lighten the tense mood that mostly originated from Temari. Temari frowned but rushed to Gaara's side to give him support and help him clear the area. "Fuck this quest," groused Naruto, looking back toward the village. His corruption was at nearly 96% and the bleed had just finally worn off, allowing him a short reprieve. Bonus objective completion awarded. 250,000 express. Quest alert. Save Konoha. The village is under attack. Do everything in your power to protect both the village and its citizens. Objectives. Gather a team to assist you in defending the village. Safely escort 50 civilians to safety. 39/50ths. Defeat 20 members of the invading force. 12/20ths. Defeat Shukaku. Bonus objectives. Question mark. Tak no Jutsu. Sabaku Gaara. Assist Hayate and Yugao in defeating Baki. Completion award. 1 million express. 250,000 express per bonus objective. Completion failure. Destruction of the Konoha. Imprisonment, torture, and death. Naruto tapped the close button on the message to be greeted by yet another message. Congratulations, your level has increased by 1. Troublesome, complained Naruto, leaping up into the trees and heading back for the village. He still needed to escort a lot more civilians to safety and kick the asses of a few more invaders. But before all of that he needed to find his team. Naruto crossed back over the wall without issue, getting a few salutes and nods of appreciation from the Konoha shinobi on the wall as he did so. Obviously his little battle had some positive effects on his reputation, something he'd have to look into later. "Naruto," called Karen loudly, waving at him from a rooftop ahead of his current path. "Should have known you'd find me before I could find you," said Naruto, landing lightly next to her and the rest of his team. "I sensed Gaara's defeat, figured we should head this way to meet up with you." "I hope that was all right," Karen answered a bit nervously. "Yeah, it's good, thank you. Anyway, we've got more civilians to evacuate. This fight isn't over yet even if Gaara is out of it now." "Then let's get moving," barked Kiba jovially. He seemed to be in a better mood than when the night began. "I bet I can do the most damage with a single hit." "Kiba, how would you even prove that?" asked Ino, crossing her arms in annoyance. "That game thing," he replied lamely with a shrug of his shoulders. Naruto shook his head once and rolled his eyes before waving the team to move on and follow him. There was still a lot to be done before the day was over. A pair of loud thunderous booms echoing through the village stopped the large genin group and the civilians they were escorting in their tracks. "Naruto, Shikamaru, you'd both better get up here," called Tenten from her perch on the roof above. Naruto and Shikamaru barely shared a glance before leaping up to the rooftop. It was immediately apparent why she called them up. Looking to the west, he could see the hospital lit up in fiery orange light. Somehow, the invading forces had made it to the hospital. And to the northeast, the Hokage Tower was similarly lit by fires raging around it but also by an eerie purple glowing barrier on the rooftop. "What do we do?" asked Tenten, looking to Naruto. Naruto was torn. He was worried about the old man. From the look of it there was a lot of fighting going on over there. But the hospital, with Sakura's mom, Team 8's sensei, and even Sasuke, it shouldn't have been a hard decision, but he couldn't help the sick feeling he got in his gut that no matter which he chose, he would lose. "We go to the hospital, reinforce the Anbu and if necessary assist with evacuating the injured," Naruto ordered, unable to stop the bile forming at the back of his throat even as the words left his mouth. Tenten and Shikamaru both nodded agreement, even though both of them let their eyes linger on the Hokage Tower. "Let's move," said Naruto, dropping from the roof back into the alley. "What's happening?" asked Sakura, not liking the look on Naruto's face. "The hospital is under attack, we're going," he answered, turning swiftly to lead the group. The group was silent as they moved toward their destination. Naruto could practically feel their worry increase the closer they got, especially with the sounds of fighting intensifying all around them. "We'll have to break through ahead," said Hinata. "All the other points are very heavily guarded." The girl suddenly stopped moving, a look of surprise on her face. "There is a message. What's it say?" asked Naruto, curious. "Byakugan's level has increased by 1, she answered. "What does that mean?" "Your Byakugan got stronger from using it so much today," answered Shikamaru. Hinata looked unsure for a moment before reactivating her Dujutsu and looking toward the hospital again. "There's a small group of 4 Chunin. I think I can see a number next to their name now. It says 25 next to each of them. What does that mean?" My genjutsu also acts as a sensor, it assigns a number value to everyone based on what I detect. Same goes for you and your eyes, while my genjutsu is supporting you, it can adapt to your abilities. We can discuss this later, interrupted Shikamaru, trying to prevent them from slowing down any more than they already were. Right now, we need to focus on getting to the hospital and if necessary evacuating it. Shikamaru is right, we can talk about it more later if you want, but for now let's move forward. With that, Naruto pulled both of his chakra too, immediately activating Futon, Hin no Jutsu. Resuming his charge toward the 4 Otonin blocking their path. Luckily, they were all looking toward the hospital, completely unaware of his group, something that would cost them dearly. As a result, it was too easy, he just charged straight through the unprepared shinobi, killing 2 of them instantly as he ran through. To his left Choji rammed an oversized fist into the face of one of them, dazing him, also not slowing, he slit the man's throat as he passed. To Naruto's right, Kiba and Akamaru shredded the last Chunin with a well-timed and placed Gatsuga. Naruto, on the left, said Shikamaru, pointing to an open doorway. It was to a bakery shop that sat just across the street from the hospital's main entrance. The inside was darkened, but that suited their purposes just fine. Entering the shop, Naruto was less than pleased by the blue alert window that just popped up in front of him and the rest of his team. Special Event Hospital under siege. The hospital has been overrun by invading shinobi from Otogakure. Their reasons unknown, as sacking a hospital during an invasion has little strategic value. Recommended level 30, minimum team 10. What the hell is that? Cried Tenten, pointing at the window, reading the same message as everyone else. Troublesome, groused Shikamaru. This is getting out of hand. Can you accept that it's part of the genjutsu, and if you really need to know more then Naruto will explain it later on. This is super sketchy, complained Ino. How could Naruto's genjutsu even know any of that? How could Naruto know unless he was in on it? I am not part of the invasion, Naruto immediately defended himself. Of course you're not, we all know that, but still. About a year ago, I woke up and my life became a video game. I don't know why or how, but it did. Somehow, it knows shit that I just can't explain. It gives me quests that have objectives that I could never have foreseen or predicted. Whatever it is, I've done the best I can to use it to help Konoha and my friends. Now, can we please focus on the matter at hand? I promise I will give all of you a better explanation after the invasion ends and we've thoroughly kicked all their asses out. Naruto didn't want to explain anything yet, but he was backed into a corner. And his gamer ability just kept making things more complicated. He really just needed his team to focus on the massive task ahead of them. Ha, what a crock, laughed Kiba loudly. Only you would come up something so ridiculous. But whatever man, you're still a loser. Let's just get in there and kick some ass. I do have more questions, but they will wait. Why? Because there are more important issues to resolve currently. Shino's response was pretty standard for Shino. Hinata merely nodded in agreement with her teammates. You're going to have to explain more later, but for now, I'll follow you, said Tenten. Finally everyone looked to Ino. What? Stop looking at me. It's not like I have any other choice other than to follow you guys. Good, now that that is out of the way, can we focus on the hospital evacuation? Asked Shikamaru, unable to keep the annoyance from his voice. Inside, the shop was all but destroyed. There was broken glass everywhere from the display cases and front windows both. It didn't appear there was any fighting inside, just collateral damage from fighting out front. Shikamaru and Naruto both walked closer to the front of the shop to get a good look at the front of the hospital. We need more information, said Shikamaru, one hand rubbing his chin. Naruto looked back toward his group. Hinata, can you come up here? We need you to tell us how many guards are at the hospital entrance and if possible what rank they are. The veins around Hinata's eyes bulged, showing the activation of her Byakugan. I see 2 guards, just inside the entrance. They look like they are barely still standing. There are a lot of bodies too. One is level 31, the other 26. She cut off her Byakugan and closed her eyes. Is there anyone else in the hospital? Asked Sakura, worry creeping into her voice. I can see chakra signatures on the top floor, but I can really see what's actually happening, she answered regretfully. Thank you, Hinata, said Shikamaru. You did good, he lamely attempted to reassure the girl. I'm thinking a few shrapnel kunai through the front door should do it, said Naruto, his gaze focused on the lobby. They'll know we're coming, replied Shikamaru. It'll also alert anyone close by. I know, I'm counting on it. It should draw some of the forces inside back to the lobby where we can set an ambush, explained Naruto. Waves? Asked Shikamaru, giving Naruto a look. That's the idea, answered Naruto. He turned back to his team, his friends, to address them all. Okay, so we'll be setting off some explosives in the lobby to hopefully kill anyone there, but also to draw in the shinobi on the higher floors down to us. This will probably result in waves of shinobi attacking us in the lobby. If this happens, we can expect each wave to get consistently harder to fight, either due to numbers or strength. Why would they keep coming if we just kill them? Asked Ino. They might not, in which case we'll have to clear them out, one floor at a time, answered Shikamaru. It's going to be dangerous. As far as opposition goes, I would bet lots of Chunin and Genin, but not many Junin, probably just one, and he or she will be the leader. Why only one Junin? Asked Tenten. 2 reasons. First, it would be a waste of resource to expend more than one Junin inside after driving off all the Anbu that were protecting this place. Especially on a low-value target like the hospital. After all, sick and injured shinobi are not much of a threat. That's especially true when they've already ransacked the emergency services area of the hospital. Second, the recommended level is 30, most people at that level are Chunin or high-end Genin. Just look at our group, most of us between level 25 and level 30, in fact the only person in this group higher than that is Naruto at level 36, explained Shikamaru. Ha, what joke, as if Naruto is that strong, chuffed Kiba. Kiba, that's enough, if he has not already proven so to you, Naruto is truly the strongest of us. None of us would have stood a chance against Gaara, and yet Naruto defeated him handily and without any assistance from the rest of us. It was surprising to the group to see Shino deliver the chiding to Kiba. Even Kiba was surprised to hear his teammate talk to him like that. In the end, Kiba frowned and crossed his arms, his pride wouldn't let him admit what he clearly knew. Please, proceed, Kiba will follow your orders, said Shino, nodding in deference to Naruto. Thank you, Shino, that really means a lot to me. Anyway, we have a plan, so let's make it happen. With that, each member of the team primed a pair of kunai with an explosive tag and as one threw them into the lobby across from the bakery. The explosion that followed was excessive as it blew out the window 2 floors above the lobby and billowed black smoke into the night air. Naruto charged in first, his goggles over his eyes both to protect from the smoke and also to see any chakra signatures remaining in the lobby. There was only one survivor, a level 31 shinobi that's HP was down over half. It didn't take but a few seconds to make sure his HP was down to 0. A moment later Naruto used Futon, Kei's no Iki no Jutsu, to create just enough wind to blow the rest of the dust and smoke out of the lobby, allowing the other genin to see. Hinata, I need you to use your Byakugan to keep watch for shinobi coming down to us. Karen, keep your senses open to anyone coming from outside the hospital, ordered Shikamaru. Outside the hospital is a giant void, said Karen. I mean, we can see stuff out there, but there is nothing beyond the hospital in my sensing range. Is this something to do with your gamer ability, Naruto? I don't know, it could be. It doesn't matter, Karen. Just do your best to warn us if that situation changes. Shikamaru replied briskly. They are coming, said Hinata. I can see a large group amassing on the 2nd floor by the stairwell. Where are the patients? Asked Sakura. They appear to be barricaded on the top floor. I can see Kurenai-sensei with them, answered Hinata. She appears to be leading the defense. First wave, called Naruto, hearing footsteps coming down the stairs. Same formation, Naruto, Kiba and Choji hit them first and the rest of clean up after. Sakura and Karen, do your best to heal us all, ordered Shikamaru, his hands coming together in the first hand seal he ever learned and the basis for all of his Kage Jutsu. Naruto frowned in worry. They were in a very dangerous situation. The first shinobi to appear, Naruto bombarded him with Doden, Teppadama no Jutsu, quickly dropping the level 21 shinobi's health to 0, a critical hit to the head putting an end to him. The incoming shinobi didn't take that laying down though, as they quickly countered with a wall of fire filling the hallway and traveling toward them rapid. Almost at the same time, Naruto and Choji but erected a wall of stone blocking the fire, effectively putting a stop to the fire only to have walls crumble as several bolts of lightning shot through. Naruto winced as one of the bolts connected with his shoulder, draining just over a 600 HP. It wasn't a lot of damage to him, but it would be very damaging to the rest of his team. Luckily the lightning fizzled out just after as past him and Choji. Naruto glanced at Choji and frowned. the rotund young man seemed to have lost over half of his HP, meaning he got hit by several of those bolts. Sakura, heal Choji, ordered Shikamaru. Naruto, hit them back with an area of effect wind jutsu, it should get that Raiden user to back off. Naruto did just that, unleashing 3 consecutive futon. Daitapa no jutsu, which was followed several yelps of pain as the shinobi on the other end of the technique were knocked back by the wind and suffered a bit of minor damage. It did give the group a chance to finally see the first wave of shinobi. 2 level 30s and 4 level 24s. As if by some unspoken signal, both sides attacked. Naruto went after one of the level 30s, trusting his team to manage the others. "I'm going to kill you, brat," said Masi, Naruto's target of choice, as the blue letters above his head revealed his name. "You can try," said Naruto, not holding back in the slightest as he led a pair of futon, Kei's no Yaiba no Jutsu, flying. He completely missed with one, but the other took the man's arm clean off just past the shoulder joint. Masi stepped back in shock, staring at the missing limb in disbelief. He never saw Naruto close and jam a kunai under the man's chin and up into his head, ending his life. A sad sigh followed as Naruto pulled the kunai back out, immediately seeking to help Shikamaru. The shadow using Genin was attempting to strangle the other level 30, but the man, Goji, was resisting quite well as he pressed on, trying to outmuscle the shadows. A fist meeting Goji's temple distracted him just enough for Shikamaru's shadows to slither up around the man's neck and close around it like a noose, and drawing tight until he breathed no more. When Naruto looked back, the rest of the first wave were down and dead. "Next wave is already coming," warned Hinata. "Same thing as before, but they are all 1 level higher." "You heard her. Let's go," said Naruto, rushing back toward the hallway where the enemy would emerge. 3 more waves of shinobi attacked and the team repelled them with just as much tenacity as the first wave. "What is that thing?" asked Hinata, her Byakugan staring at the floor above them. "What? It's the last one, but I don't know what it is. It looks like a demon and the chakra looks like it's ill or something." "It's level 32, she explained with minimal stutter. "Boss?" asked Shikamaru. "Hinata, the top floor, are Otonin still there?" "Yes, the leader doesn't show a level though," she answered. "Is it a question mark or just blank?" asked Shikamaru. "Blank. Troublesome. This thing coming now is a sub-boss then. Naruto, use your clones to delay him and scout his abilities. Everyone else, heal up as best you can and mentally prepare yourselves for a real fight," warned Shikamaru, taking out a Hierogan and swallowing it to replenish at least some of his chakra. Naruto spawned about 24 clones and sent them up the stairs to start harassing the thing coming next. With the clones away, he sat down to rest a moment and use Raiden Chakra Denka no Jutsu to replenish his own severely depleted reserves, even if he did take a little damage in the process. The first clone to die sent Naruto some base information. Noroi LVL 32. HP CP When Orochimaru's curse seal fails to settle properly on those subjected, most die after an excruciating amount of pain and suffering. Occasionally one of them survives, becoming something worse, a walking curse. "It's a survivor of one of Orochimaru's experiments," Naruto announced to his friends. "How do you know that?" asked Ino. "My clone died after finding out with one of my abilities. Anyway, he died when the beast's arm turned into a sword and cut it in half. The next 2 died when the same arm changed into a spiked ball and mauled them. I think this thing is a shapeshifter. Its chakra looks unstable," said Hinata, watching through the ceiling as the clones managed to slow the thing down but not really damage it much at all. "Is it slow?" asked Shikamaru. "Sadly no, it's not like the chakra rat abomination, and this thing seems to have some intelligence." "Troublesome. Okay, we're going to have to try something different. Naruto and Choji, you both need to turn it away from us so we can attack its back. That also means you're going to have to take turns keeping its attention so that we can heal you guys as the fight progresses. Pay attention for it to wind up any big attacks or area of effect. We need to get through this fight with as little damage as possible. Choji, you want to go first, my taunt should be able to instantly get aggression from it," offered Naruto. "I can do that," said Choji. "Okay, I'm not sure how much damage this guy's hit is going to do, but take these and use them if you need." Naruto held out a few of his Shozen Fuda. Choji took them, sticking a few on his arms to be activated at a moment's notice and putting the rest into his pouch. And further planning was forestalled by the Noroi's arrival and its beastly bellow. It was larger than a grown man, muscle bulging oddly from its limbs. the skin having an odd purplish red tone to it, making it look very demonic indeed. Both of its arms were as long as it was tall, giving it a lot of reach. His legs were covered in ragged black pants that looked several sizes too big even on such a huge body. Quickly shaking any surprise or disgust at the image of the beast, Choji enlarged both his arms and leapt forward, dropping a double hammer fist on the thing's head, driving it into the floor and cracking the tile below it. Naruto was careful to watch the thing's health bar to see if the damage Choji just did manage to drop its health at all, and was sorely disappointed to not even be able to tell if he damaged it at all. Choji, meanwhile, moved past the beast so that it was stuck between him and the group. He then started pounding on the beast while it was down. The pounding stopped though when the beast suddenly sprung forward, ramming its misshapen head into Choji's chest and stomach. Thankfully it didn't do much damage thanks to Choji's armor and Doden Ishi no Hata no Jutsu acting like a second skin, but it still took almost an eighth of his HP. Everyone, start slow on the DPS, we want to make sure Choji's got his full attention, ordered Shikamaru, his hands starting seals. A moment later he shot a small ball of fire at the creature. Thankfully the creature was completely focused on Choji. With that the group started to slowly build up damage. Naruto, switch, ordered Shikamaru when Choji's HP hit 50% or his maximum. Naruto spawned 4 clones and in a single instant all of them used Futon K's no Yaiba no Jutsu, dealing the first significant damage to the Noroi and fully getting its attention from Choji. Come at me, you overgrown experimental jellyfish wannabe. Naruto used his taunt just to be completely certain he had its attention. Thankfully, the taunt didn't enrage him, just as it didn't on any of the bosses in the training fields. Arming himself with both chakra too, he blocked and deflected the various shapeshifting attacks of the Noroi and countered as best he could, but it seemed like the beast's hide was thicker on his chest because the attacks barely dented him and didn't leave behind anything for a bleed effect. Suddenly the beast bellowed and curled into a ball, the skin all over it seemed to bubble and melt together. Then without warning it just sort of exploded, spraying yellow liquid all around it. Sakura was the first to get hit by the liquid. At first it didn't do anything, then it began to burn, suddenly eating into her forearm, causing her to scream in pain. Acid, called out Tenten. Use your kunai to scrape it off your skin. It won't get rid of all of it, but it should get the most of it. The girl was furthest from the group, using her weapons to do as much ranged damage as she could. She also managed to be out of range of the acid bomb spray. Naruto didn't have time for that though, as the beast already reformed and resumed attacking him. The only thing he could do was flash the Kyuubi's cloak to burn away the acid and heal the damage. He had to keep the Noroi's attention on himself so his team could get some healing done. Karen, heal Sakura first, then make sure you get Choji's HP topped off. He's going to need to switch with Naruto soon. Then you can heal the rest of us. Also, if it does that acid bomb spray again, we all need to get back by Tenten to get out of range. Naruto, Choji, if you are in front of it, trying using an earth wall to block the acid. It didn't take long for Karen to heal Sakura's burns, and then together they were able to heal all of the other genin. Okay, Choji, switch with Naruto, ordered Shikamaru. Choji frowned though and didn't move. How am I supposed to take its attention from Naruto? You've heard me use taunt in the past, just do the same thing, Naruto yelled. It was easy to see he was getting tired and beat up. Choji frowned again. He really didn't like to say mean things to people. Too many people had said mean things to him. Oi, Choji, I heard it say you're a fat ass and that it was going to eat all your chips and make you watch, shouted Ino. The frown was gone, replaced by a fire in the boy's eyes. Fat ass, who the hell do you think you are? No one takes the last chip but me. I'm going to break you like a little twig, so come and try to take my chips, you 2-ton loser. The beast quickly turned on Choji and attacked. Choji easily blocked the attack and counter with an oversized uppercut, hammering it into the ceiling and giving him a chance to trade places with Naruto. It also gave him a chance to close the pop-up message about learning a new skill, taunt. Ino too had to close a window for a new skill, twisted encouragement. Meanwhile, it took both Karen and Sakura to heal Naruto. He'd taken a lot of damage. It didn't help them that he was using Raiden Chakra Denka no Jutsu while they were trying to heal him. It's almost at half health, prepare for it to do something troublesome, warned Shikamaru. What does half health matter? Asked Tenten. You've never really played video games, have you? Asked Shikamaru. Nope, never, she replied. Well, bosses, like the Noroi there, they like to try and fuck over the group at milestone health points. like that acid bomb spray when it was around 75% health, explained Shikamaru. Ah, I see, said Tenten, unsealing a trident and hurling it across the room at the Norio. The trident struck and stuck into the creature's back with all of the other weapons that she and the others had lodged into the beast's back, and yet it didn't slow it down at all. As expected, at 50% the beast bellowed again, this time several mouths opened and screamed with it. The noise soon overwhelming them, eventually shattering the already broken glass around the room, causing it to explode into the air around them. Then the screech increased in volume and pitch again. Naruto tried to blink away the pain in his head, and the dizziness and nausea that was starting to fill him up. But it did no good. Eventually he tried covering his ears, but the damage was already done. Half of his team was already unconscious when the scream ended, and he was barely standing as it was. He looked and saw Choji was down, so he attacked, trying to get its attention, but it seemed like whatever it did was also affecting it. That's when it clicked. The beast was completely defenseless as it wobbled, barely standing. Attack it with everything you've got. He yelled as loudly as he could, not sure if anyone heard him, seeing as he couldn't really hear himself. It's completely defenseless right now. Naruto was shocked to Hinata as the first to attack, her hands blazing with chakra as her delicate fingers attacked the Noroi's insides. Realizing he wasn't doing anything, he too attacked, as did Tenten and surprisingly Ino. He noticed Karen was wobbling around trying to rouse the rest of the team and healing damage where she could, if only to get them up and attacking too. Focusing back on the Norio, he unleashed as much damage as he could muster without hitting his teammates. His chakra to and wind blades slicing into the creature over and over again, dealing as much hurt and damage as he could, until suddenly the beast bellowed one last time, though it was more of a death knell before it simply collapsed to the ground unmoving, its body rapidly dissipating as any other chakra mutation would. That sucked, he griped, collapsing to the ground, still unable to hear his own groans or the cheers of his teammates. It took a few minutes for the two healers to heal everyone enough to hear again and discuss the next step. Okay, we need to get upstairs and drive out the rest of the Otonin, said Naruto. First, we need to heal up as much as possible. We've probably still got at least one more boss fight to go and all of the little minions with him. Corrected Hinata, forgetting where she was or who she was talking to. She was just too tired to notice. Hey, before that, this thing left stuff, called Tenten, drawing the group's attention back to the place the Noroi died and decomposed. Troublesome, groaned Shikamaru. Okay, we need to make some loot rules. We don't have time to fight over the stuff that dropped, so we're going to make this easy. If you want it, let me know, I'll make a recommendation to Naruto and then he'll decide who gets it, end of story. Why does he get to decide? Demanded Kiba. Because he's the leader, Kurenai-sensei made him the leader, let's leave it at that, stated Shino, putting a stop to his teammate's argument. Naruto sighed, he didn't want the responsibility, but for the sake of time he would do it. To start, we have 25,000 ryo each for defeating him. There was some surprise from his friends as he handed them the neat clean stacks of money. Don't ask about the money, I don't really get it either, but I'm sure as hell not going to complain, but if any of you want to complain I'll be happy to take your share. Now, for the first drop we have a Hon no Noroi. Hon no Noroi, made from the bones of the cursed, this weapon is capable of shapeshifting into any weapon the user desires by adding chakra. Requires LV28. Stats 100 to 150 damage. Plus 50 STR and plus 50 Dex. Cost 50 CP to change form. Doer 200. I want, stated Tenten, her eyes sparkling in the creepiest way imaginable. I could use that too, said Kiba. I'm always looking for a good bone to play fetch with Akamaru. His statement was met with a few deadpan looks and shaking heads. I wouldn't mind it either, I could use a good weapon, said Choji, his need was clearly genuine. Since it's Tenten's first time and because she's a weapons mistress, I'd say she get it, recommended Shikamaru. Sorry Choji, it's cool, don't worry about it, said Choji with a shrug. Next up, we have skill scroll, Sanbakuden no Jutsu. It's an acid bomb skill, said Naruto, twirling the scroll between his fingers. Any requirements? Don't know, it won't tell me unless I try to learn it, and I still haven't learned that copy Fuinjutsu from Ero Sennin yet. Okay, so who wants it? Oh hell yeah, said Kiba. I could use that, hell yeah. I could use more offensive skills, said Sakura. And that would go well with my poison mist technique. I always want more jutsu, but I don't think that one is a good fit for my fighting style, said Naruto. I'd take it, but I already got something epically awesome, added Tenten. I would also like to learn it. I think it would work well with my insects if I can teach them to naturally secrete the acid, said Shino. Acid bugs, awesome, shouted Kiba. Give it to Shino, he could totally make that work. Given that Kiba has withdrawn his entry, I'm inclined to agree with giving it to Shino. Thank you, said Shino, accepting the scroll, then pausing as soon as it was in his hands. Can I really learn it like this? Hit, accept, and find out, said Naruto, grinning ear to ear. Shino tapped the button and recoiled a little when the scroll went up in flames. Interesting, very interesting, said Shino. So did you actually learn it? Asked Kiba. Shino formed a few seals, then spit a yellow glob from his mouth at one of the walls, and upon hitting the wall it exploded in a spray of acid about a half-meter around it. Not very strong, commented Kiba. It's only level 1, it will get stronger the more he uses it, said Naruto. Still, if that doesn't prove this gamer thing works, then I don't know what will. We need to pick up the pace, Naruto, we still have to get up to the top floor, warned Shikamaru, sobering the group and refocusing them on the task at hand. Right, sorry, said Naruto, picking up the next loot drop. Orochimaru's Juin notes, it's Fuinjutsu formulas. Does anyone have a problem with me keeping these since I'm the only one here that uses Fuinjutsu? That's not even up for debate, said Shikamaru. In fact, before you learn those, make sure you show them to the Hokage. Naruto nodded his agreement right away and opened his inventory to put the notes in it. He was slightly surprised that there was also skill scroll in there. Somewhere he picked up a futon. Rinkuden no Jutsu, shrugging he closed his inventory. Okay, last piece, said Naruto, picking up a small knife. It's called Juin's Enjintu. Juin's Enjintu, used to keep the Noroi alive during his creation. This scalpel is sharper than even the sharpest wind blade, capable of cutting through even the thickest of skin. Requires Irionin with beginner Enjintu, skill or higher. Requires LV 28. Stats, 25 to 50 damage. Plus 100 int. Plus 25% healing to Iriojutsu. Doer 25/25. Must have, said Karen and Sakura in one voice, making grabbing motions toward the scalpel. I have so got to start learning Iriojutsu, said Ino. Me too, said Hinata sadly. Too tough to call, said Shikamaru. But, given it is Karen's first time with us, I would say she gets the edge. Naruto really wanted to give it to Sakura, she was his teammate after all, but Shikamaru is right, they used that as justification for giving Tenten the first piece of loot earlier. So with a sigh and knowing that no matter what he did he would not come out the winner in all of this, he held the scalpel out to Karen, who happily accepted and held close to herself like it was something precious. Okay, that's loot, let's move on, we've still got to get the Otonin on the top floor out, Naruto ordered, getting his team moving. They'd rested enough at this point. The group moved as carefully and quietly as they could up the stairs toward the top floor of the hospital, only stopping outside the doors leading to the 5th floor. What's on the other side, Hinata? Asked Shikamaru as the group did their final checks. Only 6 Otonin left, a lot more are dead, she answered. It looks like Kurenai-sensei's defense has been very successful. Except that all 6 that are left are probably the strongest of them all, groused Shikamaru. What are their levels? 2 are level 25. 2 are level 30, 1 is level 35, and the last one doesn't have a level listed. I can see question marks now, she answered. So troublesome, let's hope that when we attack that Kurenai-sensei will as well. What can you tell us about the shinobi on the other side of the door other than their level? Hinata frowned for a moment as she tried to figure out what they shinobi specialized in. I can see a bat hanging inside the level 35's coat, so he probably uses high-pitched sound. She paused in her description when a new window popped up for her. It says I learned a new skill called Dujutsu Observe. That's a good thing. If you use the skill when you're looking at the opponent, it will give you extra information. You just have to think Dujutsu Observe to activate the skill, explained Naruto. Hinata nodded once and tried. First is Gozu, he's level 30, he has Doden affinity but he has a lot of strength too, so maybe Taijutsu too. Next is Kijiri, level 30, Kaden affinity, he's not very strong but his intelligence is pretty high. Kiho, level 25, it says his affinity is unknown, he's smart like Kijiri but otherwise very weak. Narari, a water affinity, he's got a lot of dexterity but not much else. And last is Renji, level 35, the bat user, He's actually pretty well balanced for stats, no real weakness. Okay, so Choji, you're going to engage Gozu when we get in there. Tenten, you're with Choji. Shino and Kiba, I want you two to go after Kiho. Hinata and Karen, you get Narari. Ino, you're with me, we'll be taking on Kijiri. That leaves Naruto and Sakura with Renji. Is it smart to split us all up like this? Asked Ino. We have to, answered Shikamaru. We need to keep them separated from each other. The weaker teams need to just keep their opponent busy. The stronger teams need to defeat their opponents fast and help out the others. Hey, you never told us about the last guy, the question mark guy, Kiba pointed out, drawing attention back to Hinata. Her name is Guren, and that's all I know, she answered timidly. That's okay, as you gain levels with your new skill you'll be able to get more information. Hell, you can already get more information than I can, explained Naruto, trying to cheer her up a bit. Really? Yeah, all I get are stats, statuses, level, and a brief description. Yours told you their affinity, which is kind of a big deal. I'm sure yours will tell you even more as you get stronger with it. Hinata suddenly blushed furiously as she realized that Naruto was encouraging her. That he thought she could become strong. If it weren't for the impending danger she might just have fainted. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she finally mumbled. Naruto grinned and nodded. It seemed he was finally getting to know Hinata without her getting sick all the time. Is everyone ready? Asked Shikamaru, looking at each of them. I know most of us are still a bit low on chakra, so be conservative with any skills you use. Other than that, please don't die, it would be troublesome. Naruto took a final deep breath in an attempt to mentally prepare himself for what was waiting on the other side of the door before he pushed the doors open. The hall was opened pretty wide as the walls to the patient rooms on either side had been knocked down at some point during the attack. Guren and her team were standing unconcerned, completely unaware of the group coming up behind them. For the last time, hand over the Uchiha and maybe we'll let the rest of you live, shouted Guren toward a barricade of turned-over hospital beds and medical equipment. And I'll tell you for the last time, you come a step closer and I'll kill the last Uchiha, Kurenai called back. Guren snarled in frustration. It was a stalemate and she'd already lost the majority of the troops Orochimaru had granted her for this mission. Anyo, Guren-san, we have company, said Renji, jerking a thumb to point over his shoulder. Leverage, said Guren, grinning sadistically. Capture them, maybe the bitch in charge would be willing to trade the Uchiha. As you wish, Guren-sama, said Kijiri, bowing formally and respectfully, his voice slightly muffled by the gas mask on his face. Well, they know we're here, said Naruto, grimacing slightly at the inconvenience at present. Plan doesn't change, said Shikamaru. Choji, use your Nikuden Senshin no Jutsu to separate them, Naruto ordered. He needed them to spread out. Choji pulled a string of weapons from his pouch, wrapping it around himself before activating his skill, turning into giant ball covered in spiky weapons. It took a second for him to spin up to speed before he shot off like a bullet, barreling through the enemy group, successfully scattering all of them but Guren, who create a wall of pink crystal which Choji bounced off of and into the air. It was pure luck that when Choji landed, it was slamming down on the white-haired, pasty-skinned Kiho. Even luckier was the man getting sucked into Choji's spin before spitting him out at high velocity. Even Naruto winced when Kiho's head impacted one of the support pillars, knocking the man out of the fight and straight to sleepy time, the co-status buff clearly visible to him. He prepared to throw a kunai to finish the man when the same pink crystals that protected Guren earlier rose up around the downed Otonin. Okay, Shino and Kiba, I want you with Choji and Tenten on Gozu, said Shikamaru, adjusting his plans for the surprise stroke of luck that came with knocking that man out. Before Shikamaru could give any other orders, Narari, the Otonin with increased dexterity, attacked first, trying for a maneuver similar to what Choji achieved with his initial attack. He was wearing a skin-tight blue bodysuit that covered him from head to toe except for his face and a tuft of pink hair near the top of his forehead. The man's body stretched and twirled at impossible angles in his attack, easily dodging any counterattack. Not that it mattered, as most of the group had moved away, leaving Karen and Hinata to face the man. Something is coating his body, said Hinata, her Byakugan active and trying to gather information on her and Karen's opponent. It's not chakra, said Karen, doing her best to keep distance while Hinata stayed in close. Hinata struck with an open palm, hitting perfectly to Narari's midsection but did almost no damage as her chakra was stopped by the liquid that coated the man. When she pulled her hand back to avoid his counter-attack, she noticed that some of the same liquid that coated the man's body now also coated her hand, absorbing chakra. "That is really gross," said Karen, trying to analyze their opponent just as Hinata was. "It acts like a shield, absorbing both the impact and the chakra from my attack," said Hinata, cartwheeling away to avoid a series of knife hand slices, the opponent's hands literally like knives. "So we need to attack his insides," said Karen, forming a few quick hand seals causing her hands to be enveloped in a white chakra. "Hinata, think you can clear a patch of skin?" "I can try, but I don't know how long it will last," she answered, her body starting to move more easily now that she'd learned Narari's attack pattern. He wasn't overly creative, seeming to rely entirely on his taijutsu and shapeshift ability. Finally she saw the opening she wanted and struck, her hands flying in rapid blur into the man's right hip, splattering the liquid that covered him all over her hands but clearing a patch of his body. It only took a moment for Hinata to duck and roll away as Karen leapt in, her hand blazing forward and striking the area Hinata cleared away. "Gah!" screamed Narari, Karen's hit slicing through bone, muscle and tendon, virtually severing the man's leg at the hip internally. The Otonin tried to stumble away, his leg now completely limp and unusable. "Guren-sama, help me," he called out, looking toward the still barricade leader. Karen though wasn't having it as she started another set of hand seals before her chakra pulsed slightly, causing Narari to freeze in place, his muscles locking tight and unmoving. "Genjutsu Shibari, successful," she said, a devious grin on her face. Hinata pulled a kunai intent on moving forward and finishing Narari, but once again just as another of the Otonin was about to have his life be taken, he was encased in pink crystal. Karen and Hinata both looked toward the Junin, who looked amused if her smirk was anything to go by. "We don't have time to waste," said Hinata, looking quickly around the room to see how their teammates were doing against the various Otonin. "It looks like Shikamaru and Ino are in trouble," said Karen. A simple nod from the shy heiress was the only response she needed as the pair moved to attempt assisting their fellow genin. Meanwhile Naruto and Sakura had their hands full dealing with Renji, the bat user. "Gah, not again," groaned Naruto, holding his head as his balance was thrown off again by the man's ultrasonic attack hitting his inner ear. He'd had another exchange with the bat user, he managed to cut the man pretty deeply and kick him away, but the damage Naruto got in return was more than a little obnoxious. Sakura acted quickly to cover for her disoriented teammate, blowing out a large cloud of poison gas to pushing the man further away again, deeper into a series of room cut off from the rest of the hall where everyone else was fight. And it gave her a chance to heal Naruto. "Hold still," she warned as her hands lit up with green chakra. She held her hands to either side of his head for a moment, healing the not so obvious damage. "Thanks, Sakura-chan," said Naruto. "How the hell does he keep doing this to me? It's got to be ultrasonic." "Huh, a sound you can't hear, it's why your ears bleed," she explained. "Great, so we can't hear him attack, any ideas?" Sakura though frowned. "Naruto, I need some mud." Naruto looked at her confused. "Just do it, I have an idea," she said, watching the gas cloud carefully for the Otonin to attack. Naruto fired a Doden Teppadama no Jutsu into the ground, cracking it slightly, creating a basin to hold the mud she wanted. Sakura then grabbed a handful in each hand, then slapped the mud into Naruto's head, specifically over his ears, jamming as much mud into them as she could. "What the hell?" Naruto shouted loudly. Sakura rolled her eyes before doing the same for herself, then motioning for him to stop yelling. "What?" yelled Naruto, clearly confused. Sakura sighed heavily. She should have explained her plan first, but with the bad guy around she couldn't have him hear the plan or it might not work. She then reached into her pouch and pulled out a small medical notepad she kept on her. She wrote a quick note and showed it to Naruto. "Oh," he yelled, not that she could hear him. Sakura put the pad away and the note with it, no need to risk Renji seeing the message. Naruto finally gave her a thumbs up before looking to the dissipated poison cloud and into a very dark room ahead of them. This time it was his turn to roll his eyes. Reaching into his pouch he pulled out a pair of kunai and explosive notes, an action mirrored by Sakura. A quick 3 count and the pair tossed the kunai into the darkened room. The explosion lit up the room and knocked out part of the wall that blocked their view into the room and kicking up dust. Unfortunately there was no sign of Renji in the room, just a hole in the ceiling leading up to the rooftop. Naruto pointed to the hole, getting a nod from Sakura. It was about halfway to the hole as it occurred to him that sticking his head out of that hole might be a quick way of getting dead. Thankfully, Naruto had an army of people willing to go through the hole first. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was so very useful. 10 clones formed as they formed a line to exit the building. The first 3 died instantly, the 4th made it onto the roof just long enough to block a pair of kunai before dying. Thankfully the 4th clone's death allowed the next 3 to get out of the hole, 2 more died before all of the clones and Naruto and Sakura made it onto the roof. Up on the roof itself was dark, there seemed to be a haze of smoke hanging in the air that high up in addition to the cloud coverage giving Renji a lot of advantage. It was only thanks to Naruto's gamer ability that he saw the literal wave of bats flying at him and Sakura. Doden, Kage no Jutsu erected a pair of solid stone walls in front of the pair absorbing the brunt of the damage and killing several of the bats on impact. Renji though still took advantage, moving in a slicing into the back of Naruto's leg hobbling him. Naruto naturally lashed out at his attacker but missed as the man vanished once more into the darkness. Sakura, upon seeing the damage immediately went to work, healing her friend so that he could fight as much as he wanted, easily removing the hobbled status effect in doing so. In the shadows and darkness, Renji frowned, he was getting frustrated that every time he hurt one of the pair, the Irionen would just heal them both as if they had never been hurt in the first place, and now it seemed like his sonic attacks weren't working either. Looking closely at the pair he could see something covering their ears, mostly like mud given the blonde's affinity for firing mud bullets without concern for collateral damage or chakra usage. Fine, if that how you brats want to play it, he said not caring that they couldn't hear him. Being out in the open like this wasn't good, especially if any Anbu or Junin shinobi happened to pass by, even as unlikely as that was given the intensity of the fighting near the Hokage tower that was meant to act as a distraction so they could get in and out without anyone knowing any differently, not that that plan hadn't already been blown to hell. So he attacked again, with a lot more reckless abandon, his wonderful friends the bats doing everything could to augment his fighting ability. Naruto was quick to get in the path of the rather sudden and seemingly desperate attack from the Otonin. Both of his arms shot up blocking an axe kick before he had to drop his elbows to block the roundhouse kick the man twisted into, the impact causing him to slide a bit. Pulling his chakra to an activating futon, Hin no Jutsu, Naruto returned the attack, slicing at the man, nicking him occasionally but not scoring any major hits. While behind him, Sakura was spitting out clouds of poison gas all around them, killing the wretched bats that were making their lives so very difficult and slowly but surely chipping away at both of their health points. Finally, Renji overextended a jab as his foot slipped on one of the dead bats that littered the ground all around him, compliments of the poison mist that the girl was using quite liberally. That's when Renji felt it. Naruto saw the shock and surprise in the Renji's eyes as his chakra to cut cleanly through the man's stomach opening him up. Right away the Renji's arm moved to cover his stomach, knowing it wouldn't do much good, even as he fell backwards. He couldn't hold back a small chuckle of shock and disbelief. A pair of kids beat him, skilled as they were he couldn't quite believe it. Any further action by any of them was forestalled by the entire roof giving way beneath them, causing all 3 of the shinobi to fall back into the destroyed hospital. Naruto and Sakura tried to keep a grip on the roof even as they both tumbled down into the hall below, sliding across the collapsing rooftop and onto the floor below, skidding to a stop in front of their team. The Konoha genin looked worse for wear but they were all alive and mostly standing. Shikamaru was the first to act in trying to help Naruto and Sakura back to their feet. Naruto observed his team, they were all pretty much drained of chakra and at best a few were above 50% health, which more than could be said for their opponents who were all encased in the pink crystal, even Renji. It was then Naruto saw that Renji was no longer bleeding out from having his stomach cut open, he was in stasis. All of them were, that was what Guren's crystal did. Naruto and Sakura were quick to scrape away the mud on their faces and tried to extract the mud in their ears just enough to hear what the woman had to say. Well, I never thought a bunch of kids would beat that Noroi and make it this far, but to have beaten my team as well. I'm somewhat impressed. It's too bad I'm going to have to kill you all now. I can't let you grow up and become a threat to Orochimaru-sama, Guren stated coldly, a blue crystal forming along her forearms into a pair of wicked-looking crystal blades. The hell you will, said a voice from behind the woman. Guren's eyes widened, slightly as she turned to the source of the noise, jumping back suddenly. The kunai was visible first, as was the trail of blood that followed it through the air as it cut through the side of Guren's neck, followed by an exhausted kunai wavering into existence. Guren clutched at her neck, wrapping it in crystal to stop the bleeding but severely hampering her ability to fight. You bitch, she hissed, spitting out a bit of blood. Gurren then start a set of fast seals before calling out, Shoten, Sushoheki Hachi no Jin. The first and only warning the genin got was the slight rumbling of the ground that something bad was about to happen. Get back, screamed Kurenai in warning as she turned and ran herself, trying to get as much distance as she was able. The genin listened to orders and turned and ran for the stairwell they came up to begin with. It was terrifying as the crystal shot from the floor into the night sky, sucking in anything it came in contact with, including the Otonin that were in stasis as well as Gurren herself. As the genin entered the stairwell, they jumped down the first flight of stairs and even the second just in case, in an effort to put some space between them. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief when the rumbling stopped, signaling the end of the fight and hopefully the end of the event. Think it's over? Asked Shikamaru. I sure as hell hope so. I don't think I can do that again, griped Naruto. Hell, we're all pretty much dead on our feet at this point. Think they'll bill us for the damages? Asked Kiba, cracking a small grin. If they do, you're paying for it, mud boy, snapped Ino. What, it worked didn't it? Troublesome, Kiba, bringing down the entire roof to stop Gozu was a bit extreme, don't you think? Meh, he shrugged. We're alive, he's not. I called it a win. So that's what happened to the roof? Asked Sakura, picking at her ear to try and get a bit more of the mud out. Yeah, that guy Gozu was ridiculous. Nothing we did hurt him, his body was made of mud, he just absorbed everything we threw at him, explained Choji, the bulky boy sitting on the stairs, gripping his side where a nasty-looking gash was bleeding but not enough to be life-threatening. So wishing I knew a few Raiden jutsu, groused Tenten, leaning heavily against the wall of the stairwell. So everyone had fun? Asked Naruto cheekily, grinning from ear to ear. He couldn't help but feel like they had all accomplished something important here. You need a new definition of fun, Naruto-kun, laughed Karen. But yeah, it was okay. It's been quiet for a while, should we head up and see if we can get through the crystal to Kurenai-sensei? Asked Hinata, just as tired as the rest of them. Yeah, let's go, said Naruto, leading up the stairs first. He honestly couldn't help but whistle in appreciation of the giant crystal formation that had taken over almost the entire area they had previously used as a war zone. Anyone have any idea on how we clear this out? Asked Ino. Tenten was quick to pull her new toy out and shift it into a giant hammer. Stand back, I got this, she said as she swung the massive maul back, then struck forward, hitting the crystal solidly but not making a dent. What? She demanded. Not even a scratch. Anyo, you might want to stand back, said Hinata, her Byakugan active and directed toward the crystal. It was then a slight ringing began to fill the room as the entire crystal structure began to shake before suddenly exploding in a shower of tiny pink crystal fragments. When the dust settled, everything was coated in pink crystal dust, including the genin. We never tell our sensei about this, said Kiba, getting a nod from all the boys. Not a word to Kakashi-sense, Sakura warned. Naruto, I would never, she protested immediately but could neither hide her smirk nor the slight giggle that followed. Naruto knew then he was doomed. Hey, they left stuff behind. No bodies, but stuff, said Tenten, walking up to a small pile of good covered by a few large crystals that didn't shatter with the rest of them. Same as before, Naruto decides who gets what, said Shikamaru, walking up to the pile. Fine, said Naruto, joining Shikamaru at the loot. First, money, 50,000 ryo each, enjoy greedy people. Shikamaru handed Naruto a green kimono top first. Gurren's battle kimono, he announced before reading the stats. Gurren's battle kimono, a powerful and stylish kimono designed for combat, lined with high-quality chain mesh armor capable of stopping even futon-enhanced blade from cutting through. Requires female in LV30. Stats, plus 250 def, plus 25 dex, plus 25 bit, doer 105 105ths. Okay, so I can't use it yet, but that is all me, said Ino, stars in her eyes as she studied the kimono. I would also like it, said Hinata softly. Me too, said Sakura and Karen in one voice. Well, Sakura and Hinata are closest to being able to use it, but, and I know this is selfish, but it would serve as a great motivator to Ino to improve as a kunoichi, Shikamaru put in his thoughts on the matter. Sakura sighed. Shikamaru's right, Ino could use the motivation. Hinata though actually frowned. I do not think that it would suit Ino though. She is more a ninjutsu user and that kimono is better suited for someone who practices taijutsu. From that standpoint, I feel that it would better suit me. Okay, Hinata gets it, said Ino. That is honestly the first time I've ever heard her stand up for herself for anything, not to mention that is the most I've ever heard her say at one time. Naruto looked to Shikamaru briefly, who only shrugged. He then held it out to Hinata, who seemed to suddenly feel embarrassed to have spoken out as she did. Next, Shikamaru handed Naruto a pair of chopsticks. Chopsticks? What the hell, Shika? Asked Kiba. Naruto though ignored Kiba, choosing instead to observe them. Gurren's crystal hair sticks. Gurren's crystal hair sticks. Stylish and practical, these hair sticks are more than meets the eye. Acting as the perfect hidden weapons, these are both fashionable and practical for any long-haired shinobi. Requires long hair and LV30. Stats: plus 50 int and plus 50 wis, 50 to 75 damage, doer 25/25. Me, I have long hair. In fact, I'm the only one here with long hair, and let's be honest, those will look great on me, said Ino. Naruto looked around and received no other interest, so he was only too happy to hand them over to Ino. Shikamaru passed up a scroll next. Doden. Doro Nikite no Jutsu. Hey, is that the mud body technique you were talking about, Choji? Yes, and as the one that had to fight that guy, I think I've got first dibs on it, said the rotund shinobi, glaring at the scroll as if he was still looking at the enemy. I could learn that too, said Kiba, this time as was a legitimate interest. Yeah, I wouldn't mind either, said Naruto. I have to go with Choji on this one. It's definitely a defensive technique, and after tonight, he could use some more skills to absorb damage. Shikamaru may have been biased toward Choji, but he did have a good point. Choji it is then, said Naruto, tossing him the scroll. Okay, what's next? Shikamaru handed him the thing he'd seen around Kiho's wrist at the start of the fight. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki, Naruto read aloud. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki, a device designed to use chakra to launch bombs capable of mass destruction or distraction. Requires LV30. Stats: holds up to 8 bombs, doer 80/80ths. Ooh, said Kiba and Tenten in a single voice. I think this goes with it, said Shikamaru, handing Naruto a small booklet. Beginner Bakuhatsu, this is just what we need, an explosives expert, joked Naruto. Me, said Kiba excitedly. Pick me, it's totally me. Seeing as Tenten has gotten something, I think Kiba should get this one. Plus if he can learn to launch his smoke bombs from that thing, then he'd be more effective. Fine, pouted Tenten. Then here you go, Kiba, enjoy, said Naruto, handing over the wrist launcher and booklet. Before Naruto could get the next piece, Kiba's book went up in fire and smoke. Whoa, I know bombs, hell yeah. Naruto couldn't help the shiver that passed through him after hearing that statement. It made him wonder if he made the right decision. Shikamaru handed Naruto a small box next with a slight smirk. What are you smirking about? Asked Naruto, not yet looking at what he was handed. Just look at what I gave you, said Shikamaru. Kijiri's playing cards, neat, he said with a smile. Kijiri's playing cards, 52/50 seconds, a standard deck of playing cards, or are they? These cards can actually be used in place of shuriken and have seals placed on them to automatically return all throw cards to the box when chakra is channeled into it. Requires LV30. Stats: plus 10 luck, plus 10% experience to underworld skills, 16 to 20 damage range, doer 100/100ths. Okay, I want this, said Naruto. I wouldn't mind it either, said Shikamaru. However, I think it would best suit you, especially given your bookmaking skill. Thank you, Shikamaru. Anyone else want them? Asked Naruto. I wouldn't mind having them, but I've already gotten something, said Tenten. I haven't gotten anything yet, but shuriken bukijutsu isn't really my thing, so it's all yours, said Sakura. Thanks guys. Okay, what's left, Shikamaru? Asked Naruto. Only 3 more things to deal with, said Shikamaru, squatting down and picking up a black furry-looking thing that as soon as he touched it unfurled and launched itself at him, wrapping tightly around his wrist. What the hell? He yelped as he felt the thing bite into his forearm. It's a bat, said Sakura. It must have been one of Rinji's. Get it off, said Shikamaru, trying to pry the thing off before suddenly stopping. What the hell is a familiar, Naruto? Naruto couldn't help but laugh a little. Seriously, that's kind of awesome actually. A familiar is like a friend you can summon to fight with you. I have 2 toad familiars, but I had to sign a summoning contract to get them. Looks like this little guy chose you, so I guess he's yours. He's drinking my blood, complained Shikamaru. He's a little guy, he can't drink that much, said Sakura. And if you feel faint, just take a blood pill. Naruto squatted down and picked up the last two items. One was a scroll that he immediately tossed to Shikamaru. I think you'll need that for your new bat friend, it's a skill scroll for Komori Saichu, bat controlling. Enjoy. Gee, thanks, said Shikamaru flatly, as he tried in vain to pry the little winged rodent from his arm. Okay, last up, started Naruto, looking at the last scroll. Orochimaru's Irio notes. Mine, said Sakura. After you show them to the Hokage, said Shikamaru, not disagreeing. I want them too, but I guess since I already got something, I'm good, said Karen. Once again she was lovingly caressing her new scalpel, worrying the rest of the genin. As soon as Naruto handed Sakura the notes, the doors at the other end of the hall opened and Kurenai stepped out. I'm glad you're all safe, but that was really foolish of you to come here, she both praised and chided them at once. We didn't have much of choice in the matter, said Naruto. Is everyone in there okay? A little scared, maybe a little banged up, but mostly alive at least. Is my mother in there? No, she along with most of the other patients were successfully evacuated as soon as the siege on the hospital began. And speaking of evacuation, we need to get the rest of these patients out of here and to the shelters, ordered Kurenai. Is Sasuke okay? Asked Sakura, worry in her voice. He's fine, the doctors had to sedate him to prevent him from rushing out to fight those Otonins, so he may be in a bad mood when he wakes up, but at least he'll be alive when it's all said and done. Great, then let's get these people into the evacuation tunnels under the hospital and to the shelters with everyone else, said Naruto, happy to have saved everyone here but worried about the attack on the Hokage Tower. Kurenai nodded her agreement. Congratulations, special event hospital under siege completed. You and your team are awarded 1 million express each. Congratulations, your level has increased by 1. Naruto would have sighed in relief and annoyance if he wasn't too tired to do anything more than finish the evacuation and get some much-needed rest. He knew there would be plenty of time to worry about his gamer stuff later. Status. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Class: The Gamer. Title: Genin plus 10% increase to experience gain. Level: LV37. Next level: 19.55%. Affiliation: Konoha. HP: 8463 8463. CP: 5904 5904. Stat: Base plus bonus equals total. STR: 134 plus 68 equals 202. VIT: 117 plus 359 equals 476. Dex: 134 plus 84 equals 218. Int: 107 plus 113 equals 220. Wis: 107 plus 108 equals 215. Luck: Def: 489 plus 122 equals 611. SPD: 99 plus 172 equals 271. HPR: 48 plus 114 equals 162. CPR: 21 plus 65 equals 86. Status: Uzumaki Clan Heir plus 100 Vit, plus 100 Int, plus 150% experience to Fuinjutsu skill Kyuubi Jinchuriki, plus 100 HP and plus 100 CP per level. Inspirational Leader, plus 25% to experience gain to any team you are part of. Kamikaze, minus 25% cost to Futon Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Futon Jutsu, prepared 24 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. 00, plus 10% damage to scouted opponents, minus 10% damage from scouted opponents. Uzumaki Naruto was the dead last of this year's graduating class, rating so low because of his inability to create a basic bunshin. Naruto proved his worth after the test when he stopped a traitor and learned 2A ranked Kinjutsu. His family is now revealed and the legacy of his origin is something to be overwhelmingly proud of. He is the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and the Nadaime Kyuubi Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina. But that still leaves the question, how did the Kyuubi escape? Point 21. Ryo, 504,650. Hospital evacuation loot drops. Hon no Noroi, made from the bones of the curse, this weapon is capable of shapeshifting into any weapon the user desires by adding chakra. Stats: 100 to 150 damage, plus 50 STR and plus 50 Dex. Cost 50 CP to change form. Doer 200. San Bakuden no Jutsu, skill scroll. Orochimaru's Juin notes, skill book. Juin's Engine 2, Used to keep the Noroi alive during his creation, this scalpel is sharper than even the sharpest wind blade, capable of cutting through even the thickest of skin. Requires Irionin with beginner engine 2 skill or higher. Stats: 25 to 50 damage, plus 100 int, plus 25% healing to Iriojutsu. Doer 25/25. Guren's Battle Kimono, a powerful and stylish kimono designed for combat, lined with high-quality chain mesh armor capable of stopping even futon-enhanced blade from cutting through. Requires female in LV30. Stats: plus 250 def, plus 25 dex, plus 25 bit, Doer 105/105. Guren's Crystal Hair Sticks, stylish and practical. These hair sticks are more than meets the eye. Acting as the perfect hidden weapons, these are both fashionable and practical for any long-haired shinobi. Requires long hair in LV30. Stats: plus 50 int and plus 50 wis, 50 to 75 damage, Doer 25/25. Doden. Doro Nikite no Jutsu, Skill Scroll. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki, a device designed to use chakra to launch bombs capable of mass destruction or distraction. Requires LV30. Stats: holds up to 8 bombs, Doer 80/80. Beginner Bakuhatsu, Skill Book. Kijiri's Playing Cards, 52-50 seconds, a standard deck of playing cards, or are they? These cards can actually be used in place of shuriken and have seals placed on them to automatically return to the user after throwing. Requires LV30. Stats: plus 10 luck, plus 10% experience to underworld skills, 16 to 20 damage range, Doer 100/100. Komori, Familiar. Komori Saichu, Skill Scroll. Orochimaru's Irio Notes, Skill Book. The world was weeping, that was why Naruto's face was wet and no other reason. Not the deep feelings of loss tearing at his being that made his face wet. It was the whole world mourning the loss of one of the greatest men to have ever walked it. It didn't make any sense to him. None of it did. He completed his quest to save Konoha. As soon as he and his team stepped foot inside the evacuation shelter with the last of civilians they rescued from the hospital, he got the completion notice. Quest alert. Save Konoha. The village is under attack, do everything in your power to protect both the village and its citizens. Objectives: gather a team to assist you in defending the village. Safely escort 50 civilians to safety. Defeat 20 members of the invading force. Defeat Shukaku. Bonus objectives: Prevent Orochimaru's shinobi from abducting Uchiha Sasuke. Tak no Jutsu, Sabaku Gara. Assist Hayate and Yugao in defeating Baki. Completion award: 1 million express. 250,000 express per bonus objective. Completion failure: destruction of the Konoha. Imprisonment, torture, and death. So why was he gone? Why did the old man have to die? Was it because he chose to go the hospital instead of the Hokage Tower? Could he have still gone to the Hokage Tower and fought to help there if he hadn't stepped into the shelter? So many questions and he'd never get an answer. It doesn't feel real, does it? Asked Sakura. She was standing next to him but he didn't remember her arriving. It doesn't, said Naruto, a quaver in his voice. He really wasn't in the mood to speak. His mood was as dark as his clothes were at that moment. You two were close, she said softly. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for all of our loss, he replied just as quietly, barely a whisper. Naruto stood in the rain, letting it wet his face and clothes alike. It didn't matter, even when people began to depart for their homes to mourn with their family and friends. He could see Konohamaru and Asuma standing with the members of their clan looking as devastated as he felt. Naruto-kun, called Nara Yoshino. Why don't you come home with us tonight? We could use the company. Naruto nodded absent-mindedly. He allowed the mothering woman to gently guide him away from the funeral. I just can't believe he's gone, he said softly. He will be greatly missed, said Yoshino, agreeing with him. Gigi, Naruto finally cried, letting Yoshino wrap him in a motherly hug, something he desperately needed just then even if he didn't know it or understand it. You have slept in your bed. HP and CP are fully restored. It had been a week since the funeral and things were just starting to get back to normal in the village hidden in the leaves. All the sensei were absent, having been sent out on missions, while their genin, himself and Karen included, were put to work repairing the village in the aftermath of the invasion. Even with normalcy starting to return, Naruto keenly felt the void from the loss of the closest thing to a grandfather he'd ever known, probably ever would know. He didn't feel like doing anything, no training even, not if he could help it anyway. In fact, the only thing he did do was clear his mind as part of his deal with the Kyuubi. Thankfully he was saved from any further reflection by a knocking on his door. A quick look at the clock told him it was too early for Karen to be up, so it was someone else. Naruto padded through his apartment in his boxers and AT shirt, not caring to get dressed, even if he had been forced awake by his gamer ability an hour ago. After unlocking the door, he cracked it slightly to see who it was. "Ero Sennin, where have you been?" he asked, almost demanded as he fully opened his door. "I've been on a bender, kid," he said tiredly, holding onto the door frame for support. Naruto would have asked what a bender was, but based on the way the man stank of sake, it was safe bet to say he was drunk for the last week. "You done with your bender?" "I've mourned my sensei for 7 days. Now it is time to get back to work. Which is why I'm here," he explained, entering the apart, then going straight for the kitchen sink and pouring himself a glass of water. "Training?" asked Naruto. "Mission, I want you to come with me," he said, guzzling his first glass of water. "What's the mission?" "We're hunting for my old teammate," he answered, before guzzling a second glass of water, then pouring yet another glass for himself. Naruto ignored all that as he felt his veins turn to ice. "Orochimaru," he hissed angrily. "Not that teammate though, believe me, if the mission was to hunt him down I'd happily do it." "No, this time we're looking for my other teammate, Tsunade Hime." "Why do we have to hunt for her? I thought she was retired or something." "She has wandering status, but I've been ordered to retrieve her. The village really needs her right now. I want you to come with me, maybe get in a little training along the way. Plus, I've heard some whispering about Akatsuki that are making me uncomfortable with letting you out of my sight for too long." "I'll get my stuff and we can go," said Naruto, starting to move toward his bedroom to get ready. "Easy there, kid, we won't be going for a bit. I've got quite the hangover to recover from first. So for now, why don't we sit down and you can tell me what happened to you during the invasion?" Jiraiya more or less ordered Naruto to sit and talk to him. So he did. He told the Sannin everything that happened, from the quest to help people and rescuing civilians to having to choose between the hospital and the Hokage Tower, and everything that happened with the special event. A lot of it was said with self-recrimination and even having to choke back a few sobs. "You did the right thing," said Jiraiya confidently, when Naruto finished his story. "But if I'd gone to help the old man, he might still be here," protested Naruto. "Or he'd be dead anyway, and so would you and your friends," countered Jiraiya. "I'll tell you now, kid, not you or any of your friends would have survived anything happening near the tower that night. It is quite honestly the most brutal fighting I've seen since the Third War. A lot of Chunin and Junin died fighting off the invasion force, and more still are injured and will be lucky to recover enough to resume being shinobi. I can also tell you with absolute certainty that Sarutobi-sensei would have been proud as hell of you and your friends. He would have made the same choice to protect the innocent, the sick and the injured. Not only that, but you kept that Uchiha brat out of Orochimaru's hands, which is a lot more important than you realize. Can you imagine what Orochimaru would be able to do if he ever got his hands on the Sharingan? You've told me how overpowered that shit is already, imagine it in the hands of someone like Orochimaru." Naruto couldn't help the shudder that ran through him. "Not good. No, not good at all," snorted Jiraiya before he adopted a very serious look on his face. "I know it hurts, kid, I'm hurting too. But it will get better with time. For now, let's settle for distraction, The boy could only nod in acceptance. And for the first time since he'd heard the old man was killed, he felt a little better. Sure, he'd talked a little with his friends, but it wasn't the same. His gamer's mind didn't stop him from feeling, it just allowed him to better control those emotions. And so with a deep breath in and out, he refocused on the reason Jiraiya was here in the first place. "So this mission, what rank is it?" "A rank, but only because of the importance. I'm not expecting much danger except from Tsunade's temper," joked the old man, pouring yet another glass of water and downing it. "Where do we start? Arheim has a gambling problem, so we start with checking various gambling dens and casinos. Eventually someone will be able to point us in the right direction," he explained. Naruto could only nod in understanding. A part of him though couldn't help but leap to his own bookmaking skill. Going to such places would be a good chance to gain some experience. "How about you make us something to eat? I'm sure Karen will be over in a bit anyway," suggested Jiraiya, breaking Naruto from his thoughts. "Sure, how's a veggie omelet sound?" he asked. "Works for me, kid," said Jiraiya, now nursing his water as opposed to guzzling down one glass after another. The room stayed silent after that, Naruto cooking and Jiraiya trying to will himself to recover from his hangover sooner rather than later. Eventually Karen did join them, sitting quietly at the table, still half asleep. The three of them enjoyed the quiet meal together. "What time are we supposed to report today?" Karen asked, finally breaking the silence. 11 o'clock, but Ero Sennin asked me to go with him on a mission, so I'll be gone for. Ero Sennin, how long is this mission expected to take? At least a month, maybe 2, he answered, sitting back from his half-finished breakfast. Okay, I'll let the others know. Maybe when you get back, you can finally explain to them all properly about your gamer ability. They have all refrained from asking given the mood you've been in, but, well, anyway, I'm going to get going. Good luck on your 2 mission, Naruto-kun. Thanks Karen, and I will try to explain when I get back, he replied to her already retreating form. Anyway, we'll be heading out around noon, so take care of any business you need to. In the meantime, let me see those notes you got. Naruto opened his inventory and took out Orochimaru's Juin notes skill book and handed it over to Jiraiya. I need to make a copy of this, which means I need to go get a blank book. You go take care of any other business you need to, and I'll meet you at the south gates at noon. The older man stood and headed for the door, still a bit wobbly on his feet. I'm never drinking again, he groused, knowing that wasn't true in the slightest. See you soon, brat, he said as a final goodbye. Sure thing, Ero Sennin, said Naruto, locking the door behind the man. Looking around, his apartment was fairly clean, so he didn't need to do anything before leaving, probably just see the landlord to make sure his rent was covered so he didn't come back to Konoha only to find out he'd been evicted. After dressing, Naruto opened his inventory again and pulled out the other skill scroll he'd gotten that night. You've obtained the skill scroll, Futon, Rinkuden no Jutsu. Would you like to learn the skill? Naruto tapped the Y, causing the scroll to go up in smoke and flames. You've obtained the skill, Futon, Rinkuden no Jutsu. Naruto opened his skill list to get a full review of the new skill and couldn't help but whistle in appreciation. Futon, Rinkuden no Jutsu, active LV1 Express, 0.00% CP, 300. An A-rank ninjutsu. Take a deep breath, and then pound your stomach to apply external pressure, the power of which is used to shoot a highly compressed air ball from your mouth. Because of the large quantity of chakra needed into it, it explodes the moment it reaches its target, dealing an enormous amount of damage. Deals explosive damage 300 to 350. Chance to inflict concussed status to target. Talk about overpowered, said Naruto, unable to keep the slight grin from his face. Naruto was out the door a few minutes later after reviewing a few things in his skill list. Several of his skills had leveled a fair amount during the invasion, but he hadn't really checked them too closely. Downstairs, Naruto banged on his landlord's door. Unfortunately, the old bastard survived the invasion. What do you want? He demanded as he opened the door. I'm leaving on a mission today, I might be gone a month or 2. I don't want any issues with my rent while I'm gone, so I'm here to take care of it now, Naruto explained directly. The old man clicked his tongue in annoyance. I need the furnace repaired, otherwise you can just pay me the 1,000 ryo for each month you expect to be gone. Naruto quickly accepted the quest, and rather than get distracted by repairs, he just paid the man 3 months' rent to get it over and done with. Out on the streets, Naruto ended up just wandering around. He still had a few hours until he had to meet Ero Sennin. He was still stocked on supplies, so he didn't really need to buy anything. Speaking of buying things, he had a massive boost to his reputations in Konoha after the invasion. He gained a solid 400 positive reputation points with just about everyone in Konoha. It felt weird to go to general store or farm stand and be treated like a normal person, no glaring, no threats, just a, "How can I help you?" from the employees. To think that things could change that much was a bit unreal. Yo, Naruto, called a voice Naruto easily recognized as Kiba's. What's up, Kiba? Asked Naruto, turning to face his friend, rival, whatever. Not much, just going to meet my team, he answered, shrugging slightly. How are they doing? Good, we've mostly been busy with crap repair missions in the village. Sensei is still out on her own mission. Same, I'm actually heading out on a mission today with Ero Sennin. Lucky, I wish we could get a real mission. Is your team going with you? Nah, just me and Jiraiya as far as I know. Even luckier, groused the boy. Yeah, well, my luck never holds, man. It's totally messed up. I get an awesome mission only for it to turn to shit. or I'll win a bunch of money gambling only to have a fine for some bullshit show up on my door. Sounds like video game luck to me, laughed Kiba. What do you mean? Asked Naruto, curious as it wasn't really something he ever paid attention to when he gamed. You never noticed it? No, shit, it's like karma. If you do good things you get rewarded, but if you do bad things you get penalized, right? He explained. What about bad things being done to you? Do you get something good to make up for it? Asked Naruto. Kiba shrugged. Don't know, probably. I mean, in games the hero always has bad shit happen to him, but he gets kick-ass loot and rewards for being the hero. It's like a balance thing, I guess. Huh, that's interesting. I wonder if my luck is why this shit happens to me. A special skill has been acquired through a special act. After acquiring knowledge of hero's karma and its function, your luck has been revealed, and a skill governing your luck, Gamer's Karma, LV Max, has been created. Gamer's Karma passive LV Max. Luck is often referred to as the probability that something good will happen to or for you. Karma is the balance between positive and negative actions, wherein positive actions will yield positive results and rewards and negative actions will yield negative results and penalties. As the gamer, you are subject to increased luck when being rewarded, but in order to keep balance the difficulty is also increased. Passively increases LUK 100%. Passively increases DV 25%. Additional 100% increase in luck when DV increased. Oh, that's messed up, groused Naruto. And what the hell is DV? Difficulty value, answered Kiba, earning a flat look from Naruto. And how would you know that? What? I used to play video games a lot before I got Akamaru, asked Kiba, grinning a bit. I kind of wish you didn't know that, cause now I know that and it really pisses me off, said Naruto, trying to keep his cool even though he could feel a vein in his neck starting to throb in agitation. What happened? Gamer's luck skill was created, answered Naruto. Kiba snorted a laugh immediately. Ha, only you, Naruto, and boy am I glad I don't have your problems. You have no idea, complained Naruto. Well, it's your problem now, said Kiba. Anyway, I've got to meet my team. See you later and good luck with that. Thanks, jerk. Having nothing better to do with his time, he continued wandering, which led him to finding a shop he hadn't previously encountered. Konoha Realty, he read from the shop sign. There were a few scorch marks on the building but nothing too bad, and based on the sign they were open for business. A quick check of his reputation menu showed that he was actually on good terms with the place, which was surprising considering he'd never seen nor visited it before. That also likely meant he'd never pranked it or the owners. Konoha Realty, friendly 501,000. Welcome to Konoha Realty, said a way too happy and cheerful young woman as he stepped inside. Thanks, said Naruto, instantly uncomfortable with the fake smile the lady was giving him. It wasn't the fake, I hate you, smile he was used to getting. This was more of a, I smile because I have to but couldn't really care less smile. So, lose your home in the invasion? Or just shopping for new home? We have several great listings that might interest you. She started into her sales pitch right away. A new home, now that was never something Naruto had ever really considered before. He lived in his crummy apartment for as long as he could remember, but the thought of a new home, a home that was his and didn't have a shitty landlord constantly asking for rent and threatening to evict him. Now that was something he could get behind. What are we talking about here? Well, that all depends on you. Do you know how many bedrooms you want? Bathrooms, condo or house? What neighborhood you want to live in? These are all things you need to consider when spending the kind of money it takes to purchase a home. What kind of prices? Again, it varies, so let's start with where in the village you'd like to live. Now that was a difficult question for Naruto. His first thought was to be near the tower to get to his missions easier, but then he thought about being closer to his friends only to then turn his thoughts to the training fields. I have no idea. The lady's smile finally wavered a bit before she pulled out a folded-up map from her desk drawer and spread it out. The map was of the village and it was marked with maybe 100 pieces of tape in various colors, mostly red, green, blue, and a few orange and yellow. Red are listings that require a lot of work to make them livable. There are a lot after the invasion simply because there was a lot of damage. Orange are in pretty bad shape but can technically be lived in. Yellow are in the middle ground, a little bit of damage to be repaired but livable even without repairs. Now the green are those that are completely livable and have no damage at all but are usually older homes, so the style is a bit outdated and they may require a bit more maintenance. And finally the blue are new and in pristine condition. Now, As you can imagine, prices go up at each level. Makes sense, said Naruto, looking the map over. There really was a lot of red. But he really wasn't interested in having to complete rebuild a house, so he eliminated those. Forget the red, even if I can repair just about anything, I don't want to deal with that many repairs. The lady nodded, folded up the map to put it back in her drawer only to pull out 4 others. She opened the first one and it just had orange marker on it. Naruto guessed that the others were for the yellow, blue, and green markers. Now, anything in orange is going to range from 700,000 ryo for a studio in a colorful neighborhood to 2.5 million ryo for a 3-bedroom in a nicer neighborhood, she started, stopping Naruto's interest in its tracks. And there ends my investigation into owning my own place, said Naruto simply. Now, don't be like that. You can always get a loan from the bank, assuming you have good credit, she said, her smile never leaving her face. Yeah, not getting a loan. I'll just have to save up for a while until I can afford to pay cash, he stated. He had no interest in dealing with the Konoha Bank, a place he'd never visited let alone was going to risk his money with. Oh but sir, thanks but no thanks, lady. Anyway, I've got get going. Good luck fleecing the next sucker, he said rather harshly, then leaving quite abruptly. He'd buy his own place someday, but at those prices it would be a while before he even considered it. Your poor treatment of a working woman has lowered your reputation with Konoha Realty, your reputation has decreased by 250 points. Damn it, cried Naruto, cursing both himself and the stupid system that just went out of its way to screw him over. Which left Naruto thinking about his conversation with the lady. He was rude to her, no doubt about it, but it also made him realize the lady did have a point about getting a loan from the bank. While he wasn't ready to get a loan from the bank just now, he might someday, which means he'd need to start building a reputation with them. It was probably something he should look into, it was the adult thing to do, a thought that made him shudder all on its own. Finding the bank wasn't difficult, it was situated right next to the Hokage Tower. It was a short building, only 2-floor, but, like the Hokage Tower, it was built to withstand a Biju attack. The gray exterior was nothing special, nor were the black bars protecting the windows. The fuin that Naruto could barely make out though was something special. Naruto shook his head to clear away the distraction that learning what the seals were and focused instead on entering the bank. He checked his reputation one last time to make sure he wasn't hated, but the reputation clearly said it was unfriendly. Good morning, please state your purpose for entering, said a guard as soon as he stepped inside. I need to open an account, he answered. The guard, Obaga Ganyo LV-47, pointed toward a counter on the left side of the lobby where a man with a hanging about his head was standing. Don't start any trouble. Naruto could only nod, he had no interest in starting trouble. He just hoped no one would start trouble with him. With responding, he approached the counter he was directed to, only to be greeted by a sneer from the man behind the counter. What do you want? A frown marred the young genin's faces. He wanted nothing more than to assault the jerk, but he also knew that it was a bad idea. I need to open an account. Quest alert. Growing up sucks, dealing with the bank sucks more. Open an account with Konoha Bank. Difficulty value. 1 plus 0.25 equals 1.25. Objectives. Open one of 3 standard accounts. Deposit the funds necessary. Bonus objectives. Question mark. Completion award. Increased reputation with Konoha Bank. Greater reputation increase with Konoha Bank per bonus objective. Completion failure. Loss of reputation with Konoha Bank. Naruto tapped the accept button without giving it much thought. What kind of account would you like to open? Asked the clerk. What kind are there? There's a checking account. You can deposit money to be spent via check as opposed to carrying around all of your cash and risk being robbed. You can open a savings account which will pay you interest for storing your money with us. There are also investment accounts which allow you buy stock in various companies throughout the elemental nations that may increase or decrease in value. It was a very rough explanation, but it was enough for Naruto to understand the gist of it. For now though, he would be fine with a simple savings account. Just a savings account. Minimum deposit of 10,000 ryo, only gains interest after 100,000 ryo have been deposited. The neat, tidy stack of 250,000 ryo, successfully shut the clerk with attitude up. Will that do? It's not stolen, is it? No, said Naruto empathically. I've been saving up, now will you let me open an account or not? Fill this out, said the clerk with a resigned sigh. A few minutes later, Naruto handed over the form and received a booklet back. Inside the booklet was a single line printed stating, deposit 250,000. Bonus objective completed. +10 reputation with Konoha Bank for every 10,000 ryo past the first 100,000 deposited. Completion awarded. +100 reputation with Konoha Bank. Nice, 250 rep with the bank, he said to himself, grinning slightly. Naruto slipped the booklet into his inventory and only too happy to depart the bank. Making a smart choice to invest your hard-won ryo pays off and has caused your WIS to go up by 2. Making a smart choice to invest your hard-won ryo pays off and has caused your INT to go up by 1. Double nice, commented Naruto, subtly closing the 2 windows informing him of his unexpected improvements. It may have only been a few less things to train, but that made a difference. After a quick, if a little early, lunch at Ichiraku's, Naruto headed for the gate to meet Jiraiya as planned. "You're late, brat," said Jiraiya gruffly. Naruto looked at the clock on the wall of the watch post. 1 minute, he snapped back. "You're still late," stated Jiraiya. "Anyway, you ready to go?" "Yeah, let's get on the road," he said simply enough. Quest alert. A-rank mission, Slug Princess at Large. Locate and convince Senju Tsunade to return to Konoha. Difficulty value. 50 + 1 2.5 = 62.5. Objectives. Search for information on the whereabouts of Senju Tsunade. Question mark. 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 Bonus objectives. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Completion award. 1,200,000 express. 100,000 ryo. Increase reputation with Konoha. 300,000 express per bonus objective. Completion failure. 120,000 express. Decrease reputation with Konoha. Evil Hokage appointed. Oh fuck, Naruto nearly screamed in frustration. There was no decline option. Problem? Asked Jiraiya. New quest. Can't decline it. We're royally screwed. It was 3 very simple statements, but they were clear enough. Add to that there was the new difficulty value that gave him a number plus the obligatory 25% increase in difficulty, not that that number told him anything as he didn't have anything to compare it to. Meh, I'm here with you'll be fine, Jiraiya tried to reassure him. Naruto wanted to cry. Jiraiya clearly wasn't taking this seriously enough, and he knew that no matter what he did he wouldn't be able to change the pervert's mind. We're burning daylight, brat. Let's go. Status. Name. Uzumaki Naruto. Class. The Gamer. Title. Genin plus 10% increase to experience gain. Level. LV38 next level. 1.22%. Affiliation. Konoha. HP. 8,563 8,563. CP. 6,004 6,004. Stat. Base plus bonus equals total. STR. 134 plus 68 equals 202. VIT. 117 plus 359 equals 476. Dex. 134 plus 84 equals 218. Int. 108 plus 114 equals 222. WIS. 109 plus 110 equals 219. Luck. 19 plus 30 equals 49. Def. 489 plus 122 equals 611. SPD. 99 plus 172 equals 271. HPR. 48 plus 124 equals 172. CPR. 22 plus 72 equals 94. Status. Uzumaki Clan Heir plus 100 Vit, plus 100 Int, plus 150% experience to Fuinjutsu skill Kyuubi Jinchuriki, plus 100 HP and plus 100 CP per level. Inspirational Leader, plus 25% to experience gain to any team you are part of. Kamikaze, minus 25% cost to Futon Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Futon Jutsu. Uzumaki Naruto was the dead last of this year's graduating class, rating so low because of his inability to create a basic bunshin. Naruto proved his worth after the test when he stopped a traitor and learned 2A rank Kinjutsu. His family is now revealed and the legacy of his origin is something to be overwhelmingly proud of. He is the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and the Nadaime Kyuubi Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina. But that still leaves the question, how did the Kyuubi escape? Point. 26. Ryo. 251,650. Gamer's Mind Passive LV Max. Allows the user to calmly and logically think things through. Allows peaceful state of mind. Immunity to psychological status effect. Gamer's Body Passive LV Max. Grants a body that allows for the user to live the real world like a game. After sleep in a bed he restores HP, CP and all status effects. Gamer's Karma Passive LV Max. Luck is often referred to as the probability that something good will happen to or for you. Karma is the balance between positive and negative actions, wherein positive actions will yield positive results and rewards and negative actions will yield negative results and penalties. As the gamer you are subject to increased luck when being rewarded, but in order to keep balance the difficulty is also increased. Passively increases LUK 100%. Passively increases DV 25%. Additional 100% to luck when DC increased. Status. Throughout the game you can acquire and unveil any number of status effects, both temporary i.e. stun, sleep, etc., and permanent i.e. Sharingan, Hyouden, etc. Some permanent effects can only be gained through genetics while others require specific actions. Title. Earn your title and gain varied and sometimes beneficial titles throughout the game. STR. Strength affects how much damage your physical and weapon attacks deal and how much damage your ability to parry reduces. Speed is increased 0.25 when both STR and Dex increase by 1 if equal. VIT. Vitality impacts your total HP and endurance. The more vitality you have, the more damage you can take and the longer you can fight. This also impacts how quickly you recover HP while not in combat. 1 point of VIT is equal to 10 HP. 1 point of VIT is equal to 0.10 HPR per 5 seconds. Dex. Dexterity affects how effectively you can dodge attacks and how accurate your own attacks are. Speed is increased 0.25 when both STR and Dex increase by 1 if equal. Int. Intelligence impacts your total CP and how much damage your jutsu cause. The also impacts your ability to learn and memorize information. 1 point of int is equal to 10 CP. Wis. Wisdom affects how smart you are and how well you can use what you know. This has a massive impact on your chakra control and how quickly your CP recovers while not in combat. 1 point of Wis is equal to 0.10 CPR per 5 seconds. Luck. Luck is the chance of an event falling in your favor in non-combat actions. This impacts mostly gambling and loot drops. HPR. Health regeneration is the rate at which you regain HP while not in combat. CPR. Chakra regeneration is the rate at which you regain CP while not in combat. DV. Difficulty rating is the level of challenge a mission, training field, or special event rates. Paranoia, it seemed, was Naruto's new worst enemy. The trip away from Konoha with Jiraiya was quiet and sedate, except for Naruto jumping at every shadow or shift in the underbrush. This has got you really freaked out, huh kid? Yes, Naruto answered emphatically. You should be a lot more freaked out. These things never end well. Have you ever failed one of these quests? No, but that's not the point. If I do fail, it's a really bad thing. Usually these kinds of mission end with me dead or Konoha destroyed. This time is even worse than that. Evil Hokage, do you even hear what I'm saying? Jiraiya rolled his eyes. But you've never failed one of these missions before, right? No, but, then relax, you're not going to start failing now, said Jiraiya. How can you know that? Jiraiya sighed. They had been traveling most of the day already and the sun would be setting soon. Let's stop here for tonight. Out in the open. Relax, you damned brat, we're shinobi. If we're going to be attacked, it's better it happens out in the open as opposed to in the city where civilians may get hurt. Besides, no one is going to mess with us, so just relax, ordered Jiraiya, moving off the road and dropping his pack in a clearing. The man then formed several quick hand seals before slapping the ground. Naruto knew the seals as soon as the pervert began them, but he was still curious as to why he was summoning now of all times. As the smoke cleared, Jiraiya stared down at the dozen small toads, each of them gray, with green markings. Okay, sentry toads, you know what to do. And just like that the dozen small toads vanished. Sentry toads? Asked Naruto. They set a perimeter around our campsite so we can sleep and not have to keep watch. If anyone, or anything for that matter, enters their perimeter they'll warn us, explained Jiraiya. How will they warn us? Asked Naruto. You'll know it when you hear it, answered Jiraiya, grinning like the cat that ate the canary. For now, Set up your tent then gather up some wood to make a fire. I'll go get us some water. Naruto frowned. He wasn't comfortable with the way things were going. They could be attacked at any moment and Jiraiya didn't seem to care. Still, it wasn't like he had any choice in the matter. It didn't take long to set up camp. Naruto put up his tent, gathered wood and even dug a small fire pit before Jiraiya returned with a bucket of water. Sit down, your pacing is getting annoying, ordered Jiraiya, setting up his own tent. I can't help it, Naruto snapped back irritably. Kid, if you don't sit down and relax right now, I'm going knock you out, warned Jiraiya. Besides, shouldn't your gamer's mind help keep you calm? Naruto was about to snap back irritably but stopped with his mouth open. Why was he getting so agitated? Logically it didn't make sense for him to be so emotional about the situation, so why was he? Something's wrong, he finally said. This actually drew Jiraiya's attention. Wrong how? I shouldn't be getting this upset, annoyed sure but I should still be able to be calm and think through things logically. Right now, I can barely think straight. Strip, now, said Jiraiya, rushing across the clearing and starting to yank Naruto's clothes off with the young man's assistance. Once Naruto was standing stark naked. How do you feel? Now, embarrassed but calm enough to think. Then we check your clothes, said Jiraiya, picking up the boy's jacket first. Naruto grabbed his boxers first to examine them as closely as he could, his observe activating wordlessly. Plain boxer shorts, standard white boxer shorts meant to protect your modesty. Observe S level has risen by 1. Seeing the shorts were clean he put them back on first and after feeling no ill effects from them he picked up his pants. Black medium leg armor, enhanced armor, a tough long pants covered in thick cloth and lined with medium chain mesh and leather. This armor provides decent protection from weapons, easily stopping most shuriken and senbon from causing significant damage. Requires LV20. Stats, plus 155 def, plus 15 STR, plus 20 vit, plus 5% effectiveness to stealth, dur 75/75. Fuin, plus 150 vit. Once again seeing nothing he put them back on and again felt no change in his mood. Jacket looks clean, said Jiraiya, holding it out to Naruto. Just to be safe he used observe anyway. Crimson medium body armor, enhanced armor, a tough long sleeve jacket covered in thick cloth and lined with medium chain mesh and leather. This armor provides decent protection from weapons, easily stopping most shuriken and senbon from causing significant damage. Requires LV20. Stats, plus 155 def, plus 10 STR, plus 10 vit, dur 75/75. Fuin, plus 100 def, plus 50 vit. His shin guards and forearm guards were the same, both clean. That left only his sandals. Jiraiya picked him up only to hiss. Son of a bitch, he growled angrily. What is it? Asked Naruto, activating his observe. Black genin shinobi sandals, made of tough cloth-like material. These sandals are perfect for genin as they do not impede flexibility or chakra flow but also offer additional protection. Requires LV11 stats, plus 10 def, plus 5% effectiveness to stealth, plus 1.00 to speed, dur 50/50. Fuin, plus 20 SPD, plus 10 dex. Unknown Fuinjutsu. That's new, it wasn't there this morning, said Naruto. What is it? It's not a genjutsu Fuin. This is more chemical I think. Adrenaline maybe and something else. We're going to seal these away for now. Do you have a different pair of sandals? The man then pulled out a scroll and sealed the sandals away in short order. Unfortunately no, answered Naruto, unable to keep the frown from his face. Who the hell did that? Hell, when did they do that? Where did you go today? A real estate shop and the bank. Probably not the real estate shop but the bank, it's possible. They do use a lot of Fuinjutsu to keep the building and its assets protected, he said, rubbing his chin in thought. So I guess I'll go barefoot until we reach the next town, said Naruto, shrugging a bit. It wasn't like he'd never gone barefoot before. Jiraiya though pulled out his sack and set it heavily on the ground and began digging through it, his brow furrowed in concentration. It took a minute before the old man's face lightened with a grunt of, aha, he pulled out a pair of geta and tossed them to Naruto. Catching the wooden sandals easily enough, Naruto's observe activated with but a thought. Young Jiraiya's geta, worn in Jiraiya's youth and kept out of sentimentality, these hard wooden sandals are well worn but extremely durable even as they've aged. A traditional footwear not often worn by shinobi. These have been modified slightly to make them both stylish and effective. Requires LV20. Stats. Plus 30 def, plus 10 kick damage, doer 150/150ths. Fuin. Empty. Nice, said Naruto, appreciative of the footwear. They'll work at least, said Jiraiya. They're better than the sandal you confiscated, said Naruto, even as he opened his Uzumaki Fuinjutsu skill menu, selecting plus 20 SPD and plus 10 dex to feat. Really now? Asked Jiraiya. Then I supposed you'd be willing to pay me for them, especially seeing as you're already applying a Fuinjutsu to them. How many of my birthdays have you missed? Asked Naruto, shutting Jiraiya up rather effectively. Right then, now back to the sabotage, said Jiraiya. It's not the first time, said Naruto. I guess it happened a bunch in the academy. He wasn't really paying attention to Jiraiya while he was applying the fuin to his new sandals, but if he had been he would seen the man's knuckles turn while and muscles in his jaw bulged from clenching his teeth too hard. The man grumbled for a minute before taking a cleansing breath. Anyway, I'll investigate it further once we return to Konoha. Are you feeling better now without that seal messing with your body? Much better, said Naruto. He truly did feel considerably calmer. But how would whoever did that know what to use on me? I mean, why go chemical when I'm sure a genjutsu effect would have been easier? That is a very good question. I think we have to assume that whoever did it knew about your gamer's mind and it giving you an immunity to mental effects. Amplifying certain chemicals in your body though, that would physically affect you, which would in turn affect your emotions. I think someone found a loophole in your gamer's mind, explained Jiraiya. It was very clever and very, very dangerous. If that had stayed on you much longer. The rest of the message went unsaid. Naruto could only nod in understanding. So who would have that information? Your friends, your sensei, the old man, said Jiraiya, before groaning as if he just realized something important. I should have secured the old man's files sooner. Someone may have gotten into sensei's files before I could seal them away. I fear I know who, but it will be all but impossible to prove. Who? Shimura Danzo, answered Jiraiya. Naruto immediately opened his reputation menu. Shimura clan, hated, 100 out of 1000, and I now have a Shimura Danzo listed. He has 3 question marks and a 0 out of 1000. Sounds about right. Well, things just got a lot more dangerous. It would seem Shimura Danzo has decided you're an enemy. But why me? Danzo is a complicated man. He loves Konoha more than anything. He would do anything to ensure Konoha is always the best village, the strongest village, maybe even the only village. He's beyond ruthless and will do anything if it means making Konoha stronger. He was Sensei's rival for the title of Sandaime. As for why you, I can only speculate. Maybe he feels you're a danger to Konoha. Maybe he fears your potential. Or maybe he just batshit insane like I've been saying for years. Great, and now he has it out for me, complained Naruto. So get stronger so no matter what he throws at you, he can't touch you. It was said as if it was both obvious and simple. And with your gamer ability, you have the potential to become the strongest ever. Especially if you choose to become my full-time apprentice. What's that? It means I would take over all of your training until you either surpass me or decide you no longer want to learn from me. You interested? Apprenticeship is now available. Jiraiya Sensei. By selecting Jiraiya to apprentice under, you will permanently gain plus 2 STR and plus 1 Vid and plus 2 Dex and plus 1 Int and plus 2 Wisp per level achieved while under his direction. You will also earn plus 100% experience when training Fuinjutsu, plus 50% experience when training any ninjutsu skill, plus 50% experience when training Kuchio's no jutsu. Would you like to become Jiraiya's apprentice? There was nothing to think about. Naruto was quick to accept. I accept. Good. Now that we have that sorted and seeing as we've already set camp for the night, there are a few skills you need to learn, and the sooner you learn them the better. What do you have in mind? Asked Naruto, before being blasted with so much killing intent it was shocking to him. That anyone, let alone his godfather, could have that much intention to kill him was terrifying on a primal level. What was that? Asked Naruto, unknowing, standing defensively as he faced Jiraiya. Killing intent, he answered, only to unleash it again. Naruto felt Jiraiya's intent to kill him like a hammer on an anvil. There was no subtlety to it at all, just a blunt force instrument. Why? He asked when it vanished again. You need to be able to sense it, your gamer's mind allows you to ignore it and do what needs to be done, but you still need to be able to sense it so you can make the right decision at the right time, explained Jiraiya, unleashing the intent once more. First we make it obvious, and with time we'll make it more and more subtle until you can identify killing intent as easily as breathing. Naruto could only grit his teeth and bear it as the older shinobi exposed him to the intent repeatedly. A special skill has been created through a special act. Through repeated exposure to the intent to kill, a skill to emit your own intent, LV1 has been created. Intent passive active LV1 express, 0.00% CP, 25 per 5 seconds. The ability to express your intent to harm, to kill, to protect, to everything. You are now able to express your intention through your chakra and body without words as well as sense the intent of others. Passively increases the chance to detect intent, 1%. Passively increases resistance to intent, 1%. Additional 1% increase to intent when active. Additional 1% increase to resistance to intent when active. Additional 1% increase to shielding others from intent when active. You can stop. I learned the skill, said Naruto, still struggling under the killing intent that was playing havoc on his emotions, ignored or not. Good, now to level it up, said Jiraiya, redoubling his efforts. He continued to hit Naruto with bursts of killing intent until the boy finally collapsed from exhaustion. You have slept in a tent and sleeping bag. HP and CP are 50% restored. Naruto's eyes opened easily enough to the standard morning message. He wasn't honestly happy with Jiraiya. That training was not cool. He understood why Jiraiya wanted him to learn it. It was an extremely valuable skill, especially if he was going to lead others. The ability to protect others from killing intent by using his own was necessary. Still, learning it sucked a lot. After breakfast, the pair packed up camp and started to travel again. It was bit after noon that they entered a small town. They could have made the journey in just one day as the town wasn't far from Konoha, but it was probably good that they stopped for the night given the seal they found on Naruto's sandal. So what's the plan? Asked Naruto, his gaze wandering around the town. There were no guards posted that he could see and people were going about their business without any obvious worry or concern. Not getting answer, Naruto looked toward Jiraiya to find the man missing and only his pack with a note tacked to it remaining. What the hell? A quick look saw Jiraiya wandering down the street already with a woman in a rather slutty-looking dress. Damned pervert, he groused, picking up both the note and his sensei's pack. Check into a hotel, I'll find you later. P.S. Don't wait up, Naruto read aloud before he shredded the note. That ass, so it was a grumbling Naruto, asked around for the nearest hotel. Turned out there were only two in the whole town. One that catered to a seedier clientele, probably where Jiraiya was anyway. And the other that was used by normal people, hence the one he chose to check into. In the rented room, Naruto tossed Jiraiya's pack uncaringly onto one of the beds before throwing himself on the remaining bed that looked quite inviting if only to relax a bit before he started training. He hadn't been laying very long when there was a knock on his door. Naruto couldn't help but snicker slightly. Shot down already, pervert. Naruto called loudly as he walked toward the door before a message popped up. Killing intent sensed ahead of you, be cautious. That froze him in his steps. Jiraiya wouldn't mess with killing intent in the middle of a village of civilians, at least he didn't think he would. A pair of quick hand seals and a small pop and puff of smoke in Naruto's mirror image was standing next to him. A simple nod to each other and the clone went for the door while Naruto activated Totenjutsu went out the window to find an elevated spot to watch and hide from. The clone opened the door. The desk didn't give you a key? He asked, continuing on as if he was expecting Jiraiya. Uzumaki Naruto, said a young dark-haired man with red eyes that Naruto knew only too well. This man was an Uchiha and the only other Uchiha was the one that slaughtered Sasuke's clan, which mean this man had to be Itachi. Who wants to know? Asked the clone, wordlessly activating his observe skill. Name, Uchiha Itachi. Title, Nukenin. Level, LV. Next level, affiliation, HP, /CP, /STR, VIT, Dex, Int, Wis, Luck, Def, SPD, Status, Mangekyo Sharingan +15 Dex and +19 Int and +12 Wis per level. Absolute loyalty +25% to all stats when acting on behalf of Hinokami. -25% cost to Kaden Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Kaidenjutsu, Genjutsu Master, minus 25% cost to Genjutsu, plus 20% effectiveness of Genjutsu. Uchiha Itachi is infamous for slaughtering the entirety of the Uchiha clan in one evening with the exception of his younger brother. As a member of the organization Akatsuki and a wanted S-class criminal, Uchiha Itachi is not to be underestimated. The clone looked next to the man to his partner, a blue-skinned giant that looked like he had more in common with a shark than a man. The shark-like teeth in his mouth did nothing to dispute the observation. He again activated his observe. Name: Hoshigaki Kisame. Title: Nukenin. Level: LV. Next level. Affiliation: Akatsuki. HP. CP. STR. VIT. Dex. Int. Wis. Luck. Def. SPD. Status: Oh no Nai Biju plus 500 CP per level. Treacherous minus 50% to all reputation gains. Mizukami minus 25% cost to Suiden Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Suiden Jutsu. Kenjutsu Master plus 25% to Kenjutsu attack speed, plus 20% sword damage. Hoshigaki Kisame is a former member of Kiri no Shinobigatana Shichinen Shu. He is wanted in every shinobi nation for crimes uncountable. After killing the former holder of Samahada, he claimed the blade for himself and has been a juggernaut ever since. The clone was very thankful it was a clone, for if he had been the original Naruto he might really end up dead. Quest alert. A-rank mission, Slug Princess at large. Locate and convince Senju Tsunade to return to Konoha. Objectives: search for information on the whereabouts of Senju Tsunade. Distract Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame long enough for Jiraiya to rescue you. Question mark. 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 Bonus objectives. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Completion award: 1,200,000 Express. 100,000 Ryo. Increase reputation with Konoha. 300,000 Express per bonus objective. Completion failure: 120,000 Express. Decrease reputation with Konoha. Evil Hokage appointed. We need you to come with us, stated Itachi. His voice was flat and lacked any emotion. Is something wrong with the hotel? He asked, playing dumb. Can't we just cut his legs off and move this along? Complained Kisame. The clone instantly shut the door and jumped backwards before it started sucking in air, molding chakra as he pulled it in. Both of his arms raised in front of him before slamming into this stomach. The futon, Rinkuden no Jutsu, while only level 1, was more than enough to destroy the door and good section of the wall, blowing wood shrapnel all over the hallway and pelting the two Nukenin, irritating them more than injuring them. Not giving the pair a chance to attack him, he began to unleash a torrent of futon, Kei's no Yeba no Jutsu, at the pair in the hall, trying to burn through all the chakra used to create him, which was actually quite a lot of chakra. Unfortunately, the clone barely got to half of its chakra before it was killed by a kunai from Itachi. It was thrown through its hand, ending the jutsu assault but also dispelling the clone. As soon as the real Naruto got the memories and excess chakra back from his clone and knew he needed to find Jiraiya, and he needed to find him fast. Quickly activating Toten Jutsu again, he made a run for it. Jiraiya would undoubtedly be near the red light district, so that was his best bet, especially with the Sharingan-wielding psychopath capable of seeing chakra chasing after him. A couple clones sent out as distractions should hopefully buy him some time to find Jiraiya, or at least that's what Naruto hoped as he ran, spawning clones at random as he went, sending them in different directions. Eventually Naruto had to duck down on a rooftop and activate his Raiden Chakra Denka no Jutsu. He was hemorrhaging chakra in his efforts to avoid them. Wincing as a few more clones were systematically destroyed by Kisame, who seemed to have spawned a number of his own water clones. Come on, Ero Sennin, where the hell are you? Whispered Naruto, getting up and moving again, spawning clones once more. Naruto wasn't sure how long he'd been running and hiding from the two Nukenin, but he was starting to run out of places to search and places to run to. If you are hoping for the Sannin to save you, you should know we've already taken care of him, said Itachi emotionlessly. Bullshit, said Naruto, the real Naruto, not a clone. This also meant that Itachi had caught up with him. Oh, you didn't find it odd that an attractive young woman would approach him, an older, uglier man? She'll keep him distracted more than long enough for us to take you and disappear, said Itachi calmly. Surrender, and we won't have to injure you. Ha, You really think that all this ruckus we've been causing wouldn't draw his attention? How many explosives have I set off trying to slow you down? You really think he wouldn't notice? Asked Naruto. It was part bluff and part prayer that the pervert was paying attention. And yet, he's not here, is he? Naruto would have retorted with something sharp and witty if not for the human missile impacting with the rooftop and continuing through the roof and several floors below it, followed by the familiar white-haired man Naruto knew to be his sensei. Not bad, Gaki, said a smirking Jiraiya, unlike any Jiraiya Naruto had ever seen before. The man had an elderly toad attached to each of his shoulders, both of them remaining completely still and unmoving. The man himself had an enlarged nose that was greenish and covered warts. Itachi didn't flinch though, which actually worried Naruto somewhat. Now for you, brat, you should know I hate using this form, it's so unattractive, and if the ladies ever saw it I'd never get any again, said the pervert, turning to face Itachi unafraid. Senjutsu, I see, said Itachi, his eyes narrowing slightly. So be it, we'll be leaving now. Jiraiya was about to move when a line of black fire appeared before him, rising high into the sky, cutting off any chase the Sannin would have been able to give. Che, bastards, grumbled Jiraiya, pulling out a scroll and quickly sealing away the fire before it could spread. What the hell was that? And what the hell took you so long? Demanded Naruto, only to get whacked on the head by one of the elderly toads that disconnected from Jiraiya. Language, Naruto-chan, said the old toad. I won't tolerate no sass from Jiraiya-chan, let alone a tadpole like yourself. The older toad then turned to whack Jiraiya hard enough to plant him in the rooftop. Yes sir, said Naruto, confused by the entire situation. Thanks, Pa, groaned Jiraiya, holding his head that already had a significant lump forming. I'll go on ahead home, Pa. I'll get started on dinner, grub soup with fried lice on the side, said the older lady toad before vanishing in a puff of smoke. Yum, said Pa, smacking his lips a bit. Now then, Jiraiya-chan, you and the tadpole going to be safe now? Yeah. The kid did great distracting them like that. Gave me plenty of time to get into Sennin-modo, answered Jiraiya, still rubbing the lump on his head. Bonus objective completion awarded. 300,000 Express. Quest alert. A-rank mission. Slug Princess at large. Locate and convince Senju Tsunade to return to Konoha. Objectives. Search for information on the whereabouts of Senju Tsunade. Distract Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame long enough for Jiraiya to rescue you. Question mark, 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 question mark. Bonus objectives. Question mark. Successfully evade Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame for 0 hours 5 minutes and 0 seconds. 00. Question mark. Completion award. 1,200,000 Express. 100,000 Ryo. Increase reputation with Konoha. 300,000 Express per bonus objective. Completion failure. 120,000 Express. Decrease reputation with Konoha. Evil Hokage appointed. Good. Now don't you hesitate to call us if you need us, said the elder toad Jiraiya referred to as Pa. What's going on here? Why would you thank him for whacking you? What is Sennin-modo, and what happened to Kisame? All of this was asked while quickly waving away the quest update. Kisame was the body I threw through the building, breaking several of his bones and taking him out of commission for at least 6 months without healing from someone on Tsunade's level, boasted Jiraiya, his grin back in full. As for what's going on here, I used the time you spent getting those bozos to chase you to summon Ma and Pa and get into Sennin-modo, which is what gave me the strength to treat Kisame like a ragdoll. And Pa whacked me at the end of the fight to get rid of the excess Shinzen chakra so it wouldn't kill me. Any other questions? I think that covers it, said Naruto, still not sure what just happened. He's a good one, Jiraiya-chan. I like the look of him, said Pa, studying Naruto closely, which surprised the young shinobi as he didn't even sense the old toad get so close to him. He's alright, said Jiraiya, trying to deflate Naruto's ego before it could get too large. So kid, still think we're screwed on this quest of yours? It's not over yet, warned Naruto, grumbling under his breath about stupid overpowered perverts. No it's not, which is why we're going to get out of town and start a little training, said Jiraiya. Training? It's something you can work on as we travel, as it only takes one hand to do it, explained the Sannin. I'm going to start teaching you one of Minato's signature jutsu, the Rasengan. Quest alert. A-rank mission. Slug Princess at large. Locate and convince Senju Tsunade to return to Konoha. Objectives. Search for information on the whereabouts of Senju Tsunade. Distract Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame long enough for Jiraiya to rescue you. Learn Rasengan Stage 1. Question mark. 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 Bonus objectives. Question mark. Successfully evade Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame for 0 hours 5 minutes and 0 seconds. 0.00. Question mark. Completion award. 1,200,000 Express. 100,000 Ryo. Increase reputation with Konoha. 300,000 Express per bonus objective. Completion failure. 120,000 Express. Decrease reputation with Konoha. Evil Hokage appointed. Stage 1. Huh, how do you know that? Quest update, it's my next objective. To learn Stage 1. Good, but for now we need to get out of here before the local militia shows up and starts asking questions we don't want to have to answer. You boys behave yourselves, ordered Pa, the elder toad watching the pair quietly the whole time. I'll be taking my leave now. Just call us if you need us, Jiraiya-chan. Sure thing, Pa, said Jiraiya, giving a quick farewell wave to the toad. Now, let's go get my bag and get out of here. You have slept in a tent and sleeping bag. HP and CP are 50% restored. Morning brat, sleep well, asked Jiraiya, as Naruto exited his tent. It was strange to see Jiraiya awake before him. Then he saw the bag next to the man, filled to the brim with balloons. Where'd the balloons come from? Sent a clone to get them this morning, he answered. The man grinned as he tossed one to Naruto. Naruto shot out a hand to catch it only for it to burst and spray him with water. Gah, what the hell, Arrow Senin. Jiraiya though just laughed happily at his little prank. It's not that funny, groused Naruto, trying not to grin in appreciation of a well-executed prank. Good times, said Jiraiya, wiping away a fake tear. He then tossed another water-filled balloon to Naruto, which he caught carefully this time. So what's this about? Jiraiya grinned again, picking up another balloon. Watch closely, he instructed before he focused on the water-filled orb. He channeled his chakra slowly so Naruto could watch it form. He spun his chakra inside the balloon on one axis, then another, and another, each spin axis causing the balloon to bulge before it exploded in a shower of water. It exploded. You did it with chakra, but how? Figure it out, said Jiraiya. Show me one more time, requested Naruto. Alright, said Jiraiya, taking another balloon. This time Naruto was prepared, mentally focusing on using Observe as soon as the balloon started to bulge. Rasengan Stage 1. Focus chakra into a water-filled balloon and spin it on multiple axes at once. Naruto blinked at the explanation, it sounded so simple. So he focused on his own balloon, filling it with chakra then trying to spin it. He learned very quickly how difficult it really was to spin the chakra in just one direction let alone multiple directions. This might take a while, said Naruto. I would expect as much, said Jiraiya, laughing slightly. Now, let's pack up and get walking. You can work on it while we walk. So they packed and started walking to the next town Jiraiya wanted to investigate. It was about an hour later that Naruto finally made some progress. A special skill has been created through a special act. Through repeated exercise into shaping your chakra, a skill to shape your chakra, Katai Henka, LV1 has been created. Katai Henka active passive LV 10.00% CP 50 CP per 5 seconds. An advanced form of chakra control that involves changing the form and movement of chakra, determining size, range, and purpose of a technique. Passively increase WIS 1%. Passively reduces excess CP lost from using too much chakra by 1%. Hey, I learned a new skill, Katai Henka, said Naruto, happily. Good job. That's a good sign, said Jiraiya. Now, just keep working on it and you'll get the hang of Stage 1 in no time at all. How long do you think it will take to completely learn the Rasengan? Asked Naruto. Well, it took your dad about 3 years to make it. Then it took me about a year to learn it after he taught me, but I wasn't very serious about learning it, I had other responsibilities. But now, it's one of my favorite jutsu. No hand seals, tons of damage, good times, sighed Jiraiya, lost in a memory it seemed. Right then, said Naruto. Hey, it seems like all of my chakra control exercises increase my wisdom stat. If I would to put my points into wisdom, would it make learning this easier? Probably, If Whis is your main control stat, then boosting it can only making learning it that much easier. Naruto's brow furrowed for a minute in concentration. He'd been puzzling over what path to take for some time now. With his training weights, he would never have to spend stat points on Dex, STR, or VIT ever again, not that he needed to mess with VIT anyway since the Kyuubi gave him plus 100 HP with every level. By that token he didn't need to spend the point on int either, as once again the Kyuubi gave him plus 100 CP with every level too. And just like that, he knew that his points would be best spent on Whis going forward. So opening his status window, Naruto dumped all 26 of his outstanding points into Whis. Figured it out, huh? Yeah, he answered. Wisdom breeds wisdom. Making a wise decision in regards to your development has caused your Whis to up by 5. Naruto blinked in surprise. That was a huge gain in Whis for one action. Due to a shift in priorities, imbalance has been lost. A special skill has been created through a special act. By dedicating yourself to making good decisions, a skill embracing wisdom, Planner, LV Max has been created. Planner passive LV Max. Making good and logical choices makes you a better leader and planner. Planning ahead enhances these attributes. Passively regenerate 0.125% CP per 5 seconds per level. Passively reduces CP cost of all skills 5%. A special skill has been created through a special act. By dedicating yourself to making good decisions, a skill embracing wisdom, Planner, LV Max has evolved to Tactical, LV Max. Tactical passive LV Max. Making good and logical choices makes you a better leader and planner. Being tactical enhances these attributes. Passively regenerate 0.25% CP per 5 seconds per level. Passively reduces CP cost of all skills 10%. Passively increases WIS 5%. Holy shit. Status. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Class: The Gamer. Title: Genin plus 10% increase to experience gain. Level: LV38. Next level: 5.44%. Affiliation: Konoha. HP: 8563 8563. CP: 6004 6004. Stat: Base plus bonus equals total. STR: 134 plus 68 equals 202. VIT: 117 plus 359 equals 476. Dex: 134 plus 84 equals 218. Int: 108 plus 114 equals 222. Whis: 140 plus 149 equals 289. Luck: 19 plus 30 equals 49. Def: 509 plus 122 equals 636. SPD: 99 plus 171 equals 270. HPR: 48 plus 124 equals 172. CPR: 29 plus 644 equals 673. Status: Uzumaki Clan Heir plus 100 VIT, plus 100 int, plus 150% experience to Fuinjutsu skill Kyuubi Jinchuriki, plus 100 HP and plus 100 CP per level. Inspirational leader, plus 25% to experience gain to any team you are part of. Kamikaze, minus 25% cost to Futon Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Futon Jutsu. Uzumaki Naruto was the dead last of this year's graduating class, rating so low because of his inability to create a basic bunshin. Naruto proved his worth after the test when he stopped a traitor and learned 2A ranked Kenjutsu. His family is now revealed and the legacy of his origin is something to be overwhelmingly proud of. He is the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and the Nadaime Kyuubi Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina. But that still leaves the question, how did the Kyuubi escape? Point. 0. Ryo, 251,650. Apprenticeship. Jiraiya Sensei. By selecting Jiraiya to apprentice under, you will permanently gain plus 2 STR and plus 1 VIT and plus 2 Dex and plus 1 int and plus 2 Whis per level achieved while under his direction. You will also earn plus 100% experience when training Fuinjutsu, plus 50% experience when training any ninjutsu skill, plus 50% experience when training Kuchio's no Jutsu. Tactical passive LV Max. Making good and logical choices makes you a better leader and planner. Being tactical enhances these attributes. Passively regenerate 0.25% CP per 5 seconds per level. Passively reduces CP cost of all skills 10%. Passively increases WIS 5%. Intent passive active LV9 Express, 36.14% CP, 25 per 5 seconds. The ability to express your intent to harm, to kill, to protect, to everything. You are now able to express your intention through your chakra and body without words as well as sense the intent of others. Passively increases the chance to detect intent, 5%. Passively increases resistance to intent, 4%. Additional 3% increase to intent when active. Additional 3% increase to resistance to intent when active. Additional 3% increase to shielding others from intent when active. Keitai Henka active passive LV 10.00% CP, 50 CP per 5 seconds. An advanced form of chakra control that involves changing the form and movement of chakra, determining size, range, and purpose of a technique. Passively increase WIS 1%. Passively reduces excess CP lost from using too much chakra by 1%. For as much as you bitch about overpowered Uchiha bullshit, that is some really overpowered bullshit, stated Jiraiya, a smug grin on his face. Hey, the Uchiha still has stupid overpowered bullshit, also known as the Sharingan. Plus I'm sure if his eyes are strong enough he can copy any skill or technique just by seeing it. Naruto defended his newfound overpowered skill. Okay, that's a fair point, said Jiraiya. Still, that is a really nice advantage to have. Now, what is considered out of combat? Is it just stopping fighting to catch your breath or to prepare a jutsu, or is it when the fight has completely ended? When the fight has completely ended, so I can't just stop fighting in the middle of a boss fight to hide and recover my chakra. Well I can, but I have to use a Might Raiden Chakra Denka no Jutsu to do that, explained Naruto. Also, as soon as I use a technique I'm considered in combat. So I can't just use a cheap skill to infinite and never run out of chakra. It won't start refilling until I've stopped using any skills for a minute. Still, that will make training stupid easy. As long as you're not in combat you can spew out skills and techniques non-stop until you're empty, then rest for a couple minutes and do it again. I'm kind of jealous. Well, gaming is grinding, so a skill like that to help me with my grinding is extremely valuable. I just wish I'd done it sooner, Naruto stated with a hint of regret in his voice. It really was a game changer for Naruto, to be able to grind his chakra-intensive skills without restraint so long as he rests for a couple minutes afterward. Anyway, the next town has a few small gambling dens. We'll split up to cover more ground. Even after what just happened with Itachi and Kisame. You mean after you sent those two on a merry chase through that town, giving me plenty of time to prepare and then thoroughly kicking Kisami's ass and scaring away Itachi? I think you can handle yourself long enough for me to come help if you need it, stated Jiraiya, his point well made. Naruto could only nod in acceptance. How much further to the next village? Not too far, maybe another 2 or 3 hours at this pace, he answered, his gaze looking down the worn dirt road. It actually took 4 hours after a trio of rather stupid bandits tried to collect a toll from the pair. They weren't even worth any experience. At least he was able to pretty much drain his chakra every 10 minutes with about 2 minutes rest only to do it again, yielding 23 levels to Keitai Henka. It was so overpowered but so awesome. Keitai Henka active passive LV 2488.41% CP, 50 CP per 5 seconds. An advanced form of chakra control that involves changing the form and movement of chakra, determining size, range, and purpose of a technique. Passively increase WIS 24%. Passively reduces excess CP lost from using too much chakra by 12%. Passively reduces CP cost of all skills 4%. Unfortunately, even with the levels to his shape manipulation skill, he still hadn't mastered stage 1 of the Rasengan. This jutsu is hard, whined Naruto. He was getting tired of the chakra burns on his hand even if they did heal almost immediately after being inflicted. Did you really think one of your father's original jutsu would be easy? He was the Yondaime Hokage for a reason, you know. Naruto had to settle for pouting even as they entered the small village's gates. Now, no jutsu while we're here, especially in the gambling dens, understood? Sure, but why? Asked Naruto with a small shrug. These guys tend to assume you're cheating if they see any chakra use, and these guys tend to be rather harsh with cheaters. But we're ninja, if we aren't cheating we aren't trying, retorted Naruto. In this case that doesn't apply. Now, how are you going to get information? I'm going to get into a game with the shadiest looking guy in the gambling den, hopefully get him talking a bit before asking if he's heard anything about Tsunade's whereabouts because she owes me money. And if she also owes them money, I'm to offer to buy the marker, he answered. And if it's more money than you currently have, I'm to find you, said Naruto. And then you'll buy the marker. Good, now get a move on, said Jiraiya, walking into the village and disappearing. Naruto set off into the town, hoping first to get some ramen. He wanted to test a theory: ramen chefs and waitresses at the local ramen stand know everything that goes on in a village. Of course, it could have just been his stomach talking. Sadly, the ramen chef and his waitresses knew nothing. Apparently, not everyone visits the ramen stand when they pass through the village. It seemed kind of silly to Naruto that the local ramen stand wasn't a major tourist attraction, but he supposed some people just didn't know better. Still, he was able to get information about some of the gambling dens and who to look out for in each of them. Inside the recommended gambling den, Naruto's ears were assaulted with the bells and whistles of maybe a dozen pachinko machines while his eyes had to adjust to the darker room and flashing lights from the machines. Naruto walked past the machines into the back room, nodding once to the guard. It was strange just how quiet the back room was. He could see a game of mahjong being played at a small table to the right of the entrance. All 4 seats were taken, and based on what he could see of the pot on top, it was a very expensive game to buy into. To the left, a man sat leaning back against the wall. In front of him was a simple bamboo bowl with 2 dice, a Chohan game, but there was no one there at the moment. At the back of the room were 2 tables, both dealing cards. One looked to be dealing blackjack and the other was poker. It was the poker table that Naruto ended up targeting. 3 men and 1 woman sat there gambling. Of the 4, it was woman that seemed shadiest of them despite the bright-colored red kimono she wore. She was older if the wrinkles around her eyes and neck were any indication. But it was her teeth that gave him the shady vibe. Gold teeth were visible even from where he entered the room. Sitting down, he was met with varied looks from the assembled players. He could clearly see the greed in their eyes, as if they were wolves looking down upon a lost little lamb. They were underestimating him and he could use that. 50,000 buy-in, said the dealer. Naruto set a clean stack of bills on the table, which the dealer took and replaced with a stack of chips. So, little boy, what brings you to this upstanding den of ill repute? Asked one of the men. Toshi, amateur gambler, LVL. 4. I'm looking for someone, he answered honestly. He couldn't lie right now or it would give away any tell he might subconsciously have. Jiraiya had been very thorough in briefing him on various gambling tricks and traps during the journey. You're going to end up finding trouble if you're not careful, little boy, said a different man. He looked very unhappy as he glared at his cards. Sadoichi, desperate gambler, LVL. 7. I can take care of myself, said Naruto, shifting slightly to make sure he could feel the kunai hidden up his sleeve just in case he needed it. All of his other weapons and anything that might identify him as a shinobi was hidden in his inventory, leaving him feeling rather naked at the moment. Leave the brat alone, just deal the next hand, said the old lady. Yuri, card shark, LVL. 17. He was right, he'd have to be careful of this lady. The dealer dealt 5 cards to each of them. Naruto lifted his cards to check his hand. Ace, king, queen, jack, all spades, and a 2 of hearts. Place your bets, ordered the dealer. Around the table various bets were placed. Sadoichi folded first. Yuri bet 20,000 out the gate, causing Toshi and the last man, Yoshi, to fold, leaving it to Naruto to call or fold. Naruto's called, matching her bet. He then slid 1 card face down while Yuri slid 2 cards to the center. The dealer dealt the new cards. Naruto picked up his new card, a 10 of spades. It took everything he had not to grin like a madman. Oh, so the little boy is happy with his cards, said Yuri, her eyes crinkling in mirth. If that's the case, then you should have no problem betting the rest of your little pile of chips. She taunted him, trying not to frown at her. Catching his happiness, he played along, pushing the rest of his chips into the pot. You're cruel bitch, Yuri, stated Yoshi. Yoshi, store clerk, LVL. 5. The woman glared at the man. You can leave any time. The man nearly growled at her. Are you going to call or yap all day? Asked Toshi. He was clearly anxious for the next hand. Fine, call, said Yuri, pushing the necessary chips to match in. Show me what you've got, little boy. Naruto just shrugged before laying his hand down face up. You little bastard, hissed the woman, instantly on her feet and nearly throwing her cards at the dealer. You won't play me again, you little shit, she warned. I just played the hand I was dealt, he said honestly. It's not my fault, it was the best hand ever. You've placed a winning bet causing your luck to go up by 1. Naruto grinned victoriously both at beating the woman and the increase in luck. Apparently he'd just found out what he needed to do to grind his luck up. Meanwhile, the men just laughed at the woman's anger and Naruto's innocent act. I like this kid, said Yoshi, grinning from ear to ear, patting Naruto on the back rather roughly. He's got some skill, said Toshi appreciatively. Now let's play some poker. The next few hands played quickly, the betting not going over 10,000. Naruto broke even, winning one of the hands but losing the others, once again netting him a point of luck. So, you said you were looking for someone? Asked Yuri, seeming to have developed a quick but grudging respect for the young man that played her so well. Densetsu no Kamo, he answered. Ha, well I'll be, that woman had a kid that can actually win at gambling, laughed the woman, but the laugh was more of a harsh bark mixed with a cackle. Naruto would have corrected her, but if it worked in his favor then he'd let the illusion go on, he had no need to claim she owed him money. She owes me money, grumbled Toshi. She owes us all money, laughed Satoichi. Naruto swallowed a bit nervously. How much does she owe? She owes me 100,000, said Yuri, shrugging. Don't worry though, she always makes good eventually. Does some medical work here and there and charges whoever she patches up a lot of money to do so. Still, I should buy her debts from each of you, said Naruto. Oh, so you have some honor to you. Clearly you're one apple that fell pretty far from the tree. Tell you what, you win this game. You win and I'll consider her marker paid in full. Now that's some betting action I can get into. So side bet, all of our marker with Tsunade if the kid wins, and if we win, let's say her marker's double. Deal, and if he wins you give us any information you have on her whereabouts, chimed in a new voice that Naruto knew. Ero Sennin, why would you do that? Asked Naruto, turning slightly to glare at the larger man. 'Cause I can, and I'll pay her markers if the kid loses, said Jiraiya. Jiraiya, greeted Yuri, her voice rather frosty. Yuri-chan, replied the pervert, grinning lecherously. How is that daughter of yours? Pregnant, said Yuri, causing Jiraiya to pale instantly as the panic was clearly written on his face. But don't worry, it's not yours. It's his. This time she pointed at Yoshi, her frosty glare shifting. I married her first, said Yoshi defensively. You still defiled my daughter, she snapped back. Haven't we all? Grumbled Jiraiya, getting nods from the other two men at the table. Yuri's face twitched slightly, trying not to leap from her seat to strangle all of the men. Ero Sennin, groaned Naruto, disbelief written on his face. I can't take him anywhere, I swear. I'm starting to like you more and more, kid, said Yuri, actually giving him a slightly kind smile. But enough stalling. The side bet is placed, now let's play. Hours passed as they played, chip stacks going up and down, Naruto's luck stat going up and down. Apparently losing big had a detrimental effect on his luck, something he found out when he lost 10,000 Ryo in a single hand, 4 fours versus 4 kings. Last hand, called the dealer, now that only Naruto and Yuri remained. All chips to center. 5 cards went out to each of them. Naruto collected his cards. Jack, Jack, 10, 4, 2, all different suits. 2, said Naruto, passing in the 4 and 2. Getting back 2 cards. 4, said Yuri, frowning as she turned in 4 cards, meaning the remaining card was an ace. Naruto looked at his cards again, including the 2 new cards. Jack, 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 10, and 10, a full house and hopefully enough to win the game. Ladies first, said Jiraiya, from his spot behind Naruto. It was agonizing to watch. The woman flipped over 1 card at a time, 7, 7, 7, ace, and ace. And just like that, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as he turned over his own full house. His 3 of kind beat hers. Winning big pays off big, causing your luck to go up by 5. Che, I can't believe this kid is the sucker's kid, griped Yuri. To think, that woman would breed, let alone that he'd actually have good luck. Jiraiya though was caught flat-footed. Sucker's kid, he asked. That's why the kid is looking for her, right? I could see her abandoning a kid like that. That woman runs away from everything, explained Yuri. Right, of course, said Jiraiya, trying hard not to laugh. Be sure to spread the word that her kid is looking for her and buying up her debts. Yuri's eyes narrowed slightly but apparently let it go. Will do. As for Tsunade's location, Last time I saw her she was heading south toward the capital. Probably to do some kind of medical consult for the daimyo or one of his wives. Thanks, Yuri Obasan, said Naruto, grinning at the older woman. Obasan, she all but howled in outrage. It was too late though, as Jiraiya and Naruto were both already gone. So we're going to the capital? Asked Naruto. Nope, if she saw Tsunade Heim going south then she was actually going northwest, he said as he pulled a map out of his pack. Here, he said after a minute pointing to a town on the map. Tanzaku-gai, Naruto read aloud. It's a big gambling town. Lots of casinos and less reputable gambling houses there. That's where she'll go, that woman can never resist visiting that town, explained Jiraiya. Okay, so let's go, said Naruto, eager to get on the road. Hold on now, we're going to stay at a hotel for the day to rest, it's already 3 in the morning. It's that late? Asked Naruto. He knew they had been playing for a while but he didn't know it had been that long. It is, now let's go get some rest and we'll set off by noon tomorrow. You have slept in a bed. HP and CP are 75% restored. Naruto woke up as usual, quickly closing the morning message before getting up from the bed. As normal he showered and brushed his teeth. After that he left the sleeping Jiraiya and headed out into Tanzaku-gai to continue the search for Tsunade. They had arrived 2 days prior and thus far had not heard anything about her being there. Naruto had in the meantime racked up a rather impressive amount of ryo from gambling, further spreading the legend of the sucker's winning son. He really should try to squash the rumors but Jiraiya wouldn't let him, seeing as once Tsunade heard she'd come running to put the pretender out of his misery. That last part worried him a little but Jiraiya promised nothing would happen once she saw he was there too. A little part of him couldn't help but worry more that it might actually make things worse. He was more worried about his quest being stalled. He'd hoped that after he finished stage 2 of the Rasengan training that it would prompt him to learn the third and final stage. He was working on it anyway but it still irked him. Quest alert. A-rank mission. Slug Princess at large. Locate and convince Senju Tsunade to return to Konoha. Objectives. Search for information on the whereabouts of Senju Tsunade. Distract Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame long enough for Jiraiya to arrive. Learn Rasengan Stage 1. Learn Rasengan Stage 2. Locate Senju Tsunade. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Bonus objectives. Question mark. Successfully evade Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame for 0 hours 5 minutes and 0 seconds. 00. Question mark. Completion award. 1,200,000 Express. 100,000 Ryo. Increase reputation with Konoha. 300,000 Express per bonus objective. Completion failure. 120,000 Express. Decrease reputation with Konoha. Evil Hokage appointed. So other than gambling, he just kept training, grinding his skills as best he can, at least those that wouldn't draw the wrong kind of attention. Even though he didn't gain any experience or sub-quests it kind of paid off. Intent passive active LV27 Express, 92.14% CP, 25 per 5 seconds. The ability to express your intent to harm, to kill, to protect, to everything. You are now able to express your intention through your chakra and body without words as well as sense the intent of others. Passively increases the chance to detect intent, 8%. Passively increases resistance to intent, 8%. Additional 7% increase to intent when active. Additional 7% increase to resistance to intent when active. Additional 6% increase to shielding others from intent when active. Keitai Henka active passive LV 7212.41% CP, 50 CP per 5 seconds. An advanced form of chakra control that involves changing the form and movement of chakra, determining size, range, and purpose of a technique. Passively increase WIS 72%. Passively reduces excess CP lost from using too much chakra by 36%. Passively reduces CP cost of all skills 12%. So that was his plan. He'd training from the time he woke up until around noon on the outskirts of the city. After training he went into town for lunch then back out to train some more. Around dusk he'd hit the casinos winning money but also being careful not to get blackballed for winning too much. He'd learned the hard way not to win too much his first night in town when he'd won big and then won more. Long story short, he was no longer allowed to gamble in the eastern district of Tanzaku-gai. But for today's plan was going to be different. He was finally going to check out the giant freaking castle that dominated the city, towering above all of the other buildings. He'd been planning to go for several days now, but it was always just one more skill level and he'd go only to get 5 or 6 skill levels, and it would be too late to really go and be a tourist. So this morning was all about exploring. Exploring that quickly paid off with significant improvement to his observe skill, gaining 17 much needed levels in a very short time, and that was just on his journey from the hotel to the castle. Observe passive active LV66 Express, 88.01% CP, 5. Through continuous observation, a skill to observe objects, situations, and persons was generated that allows for quick information gathering. The higher the skill, the greater the data obtained. "Welcome to Tanzaku-jo," greeted a lady wearing a very old-style kimono and offering him a brochure as he passed through the ticket gate. It was only 500 ryo to enter, so it wasn't very expensive, and even if it was, it wouldn't have been a bother. He was very good at gambling, as it turned out. Getting a better look at the castle up close, Naruto couldn't help but be impressed. Standing guard outside the castle's main gate were a pair of soldiers in old samurai armor that at first blush looked to be actors, but given the levels of the pair of guards it was easy to believe they really were samurai. Ichi Sanjo, Samurai Guard, LV32. Nanto Kato, Samurai Guard, LV31. It was a good thing too, as not even a second after Naruto got within about a foot of the gate he received an unexpected notification. Solo event Tanzaku-jo. Infiltrators DV-54, a local bandit army is looking to take this long-standing castle as its new stronghold. Prevent them from taking the keep and drive them out. Defend the other tourists from the bandit infiltrators hidden amongst the crowds and defeat Oyabun no Azuma. Recommended level, 32. Ah hell, grumbled Naruto. Guard guys, he called tentatively, unsure if he could enlist their help. What do you need, child? Asked the older of the pair, Sanjo. I think you might have a bandit problem. Do you have proof of this? We cannot be chasing after false tips from a child. Naruto was about to jerk a thumb toward his forehead where his Konoha headband should be before he remembered he wasn't currently wearing it. Grumbling for a moment, he opened his inventory to equip it to receive an error message. Cannot change equipment while in combat. Son of a, he wasn't happy about this particular situation. What kind of proof do you need? If there are bandits here, they will most likely be members of the Yonkei Sanzoku. Every member will hold a fake coin with the kanji for 4 on one side and wind on the other. Bring us a few of those coins and we'll take your warning seriously, explained Sanjo. Event objective. Collect 10 Yonkei's cocoa without being detected. So, either I figure this out or I just leave now and forget all about it, said Naruto, more for himself than anything. Then he sighed exaggeratedly. Who am I kidding? I'm totally going to kick this event's ass. That left Naruto with a conundrum. Identifying the member of the Yonkei Sanzoku wouldn't be a problem thanks to his observe. But how was he going to get the coins without being detected? Obviously it meant he'd have to steal the coins, which meant he'd have to learn very quickly how pickpocket the bandits. Okay then, let's try this, said Naruto, approaching the first man he saw with an affiliation with bandit group, doing everything he could to be as stealthy as possible. He reached a hand out toward the man's pocket only to find it empty. So he tried for the other pocket only to have his hand grabbed by the bandit, who turned to Naruto with anger in his eyes. Go find another pocket to pick, brat, said the bandit, shoving Naruto away. Naruto though just breathed a sigh of relief. That bandit could have made things really unpleasant for him. Still, he had an objective to go after. Rather than tempt fate by going after the same guy, he chose to find another bandit and once again try to pick his pocket. This time he hit pay dirt. Not only did he get his first coin, he also took 2,000 ryo from the fool. A special skill has been created through a special act. Sticky fingers have liberated that which does not belong to you. A skill to steal things undetected. Pickpocket, LV1 has been created. Pickpocket active LV10.00% CP, 5. The ability to liberate items on a person without them being aware of their loss. 15% chance of successfully picking a pocket. And just like that, Naruto knew this event was going to take some time. Almost 2 hours later he had finally collected the last coin from the first bandit he failed to pickpocket. With coins in hand, he went back to the guards. And just how did you get your hands on those? Asked Kato, his tone communicating suspicion and not much else. I'm a Konoha genin, answered Naruto, hoping that would be a sufficient explanation. Che, shitty ninja, snarled Kato, one of his hands going to his sword. That's enough, Kato, ordered Sanjo, calming the younger man. This young shinobi did us a service. Shut and barricade the gates immediately. Then sound the alarm, we need to bring as many of the city guard here as we can. Kato snarled one last time for good measure before moving to do as he was ordered. He pushed the heavy armored door closed, then pulled a lever to dropping iron bars behind it, securing it in place. After that he ran into the guard house and out of sight. It wasn't a minute later that loud bells began ringing, filling the castle and the surrounding area with noise. So much for the stealth approach. What do you want me to do? Asked Naruto, trying to be helpful. Don't get in our way, snapped Kato, having returned from sounding the bell. We don't need your kind here. Sanjo just sighed. It would be best for you to simply get out of the way. Now that was something Naruto didn't appreciate at all. These two armored clowns wouldn't even know about the bandits if it weren't for him. Worse, as he looked around he could see the bandits had taken hostages. The hell, he wasn't getting involved. Event objective: eliminate all bandit infiltrators. Yeah, that's not going to happen, said Naruto, not caring that Sanjo and Kato both ran to attack the bandits as they began to get organized. A quick look around and he could see the ground was solid stone, so there was no chance of using it to sneak around. It was unfortunate that he only then remembered he knew another jutsu that was really good for sneaking around. So after taking a moment to chide himself for not thinking to use it sooner when he was pickpocketing the bandits, he activated his Toten Jutsu. Damn it, it's too early, screamed Zato, a level 30 bandit. Who the hell tipped off the guards? The man expected an answer but didn't get one. He looked to the left where his partner was standing only moments before holding a young girl hostage. Instead, he saw his partner's body on the ground and the girl running away. A futon. Hin no jutsu. Later, Zato joined his former partner in the afterlife. Get to safety, Naruto ordered the civilians, even as they ran away in fright. He just had to hope they would be safe. Then he realized he was still invisible and sighed once more. They probably thought I was Ghost. An unseen shrug of his shoulders was all he could do. There were more bandits to eliminate. It took all of about 20 minutes to free all of the hostages while the samurai guards made a lot of noise and managed to create one hell of a distraction, allowing Naruto to work unnoticed by the bandits until it was too late. A blood-curdling scream drew Naruto's attention sharply. It was the guard, Kato. There was a very thin man standing behind him with a pair of curved knives driven into his back through the armor. It worried Naruto that the thin man was able to get behind the samurai considering how closely he was standing to Sanjo. The other samurai, Sanjo, was quick to move, his sword glowing slightly as it arced toward the thin man only for the thin man to vanish. Shunshin, grumbled Naruto, it was a good one too. Very quick, very smooth, and no hand seals required. This man was dangerous. Kagejima Usui, Oyabun no Azuma, LV-34. Usui reappeared behind Sanjo prepared to stab him the same way he stabbed Kato, and it would have succeeded too if the man had not been turned suddenly by a futon. Rinkuden no Jutsu impacting his side and followed up by a powerful front kick to the man's face, sending him tumbling away. Sanjo looked toward Naruto, surprise clearly evident on his face. Get him to safety if you can, I'll deal with this guy, said Naruto, his eyes not leaving the downed form of Usui for a second. Sanjo moved quickly to do just that, but the downed Usui exploded in a cloud of smoke. In his place was a jug with the kanji for oil on it with a burning fuse. Sanjo grabbed Kato roughly and dived out away, trying to get some clearance from the jug that was about to explode. Naruto didn't even register the explosion as he was already moving, ducking under Usui's attempt at a sneak attack behind him and Naruto countering with kick to the man's midsection. Shitty little ninja, messing with our plans. I'm going to enjoy killing you, snarled Usui, brushing some dirt from the brownish cloak that covered him from the shoulders down. And I'm going to enjoy kicking your ass, Naruto stated confidently. They were actually pretty evenly matched in speed and dexterity from what Naruto could see with his observed skill. Still, best to not let the fight drag out. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu spawned a dozen clones that were quick to spread out, something Usui let happen. You'll need more than some crappy Bunshin, fool me kid, said Usui, sounding bored. Naruto blinked as he understood just why Usui was underestimating him. He thought they were just a normal Bunshin. Saw through them, did you? Asked Naruto, his natural prankster coming through just a little bit. Chunin, he said, jerking a thumb toward himself before pointing at Naruto. Failed Genin. I'm guessing based on your lack of forehead prote, he was cut off suddenly as one of the clones kicked him in the side of the head, giving him an instant dazed effect. Another clone came low from the opposite direction, slicing at him with a wind-coated trench knife, only for it to scrape against the man's cloak, shooting sparks harmlessly into the air, sounding like blades clashing. A rictus of fury spread across Usui's face as he lashed out, spinning in place, his cloak spinning with him and somehow slicing the two clones that attacked him to shreds. "Okay, now I'm taking you seriously, kid," said Usui, no hint of playfulness in his voice. "Is that good or bad?" asked Naruto, his hands already moving to unleash several futon K's no Yaba no Jutsu. "Bad for both of us," he replied, ignoring the jutsu as they impacted his cloak, but went no further. "And you may as well stop with the jutsu, you're just wasting chakra. See this cloak? I took this off Asuna Junin a few years ago, it's made chakra fiber. It sucks the chakra right out of any jutsu that comes close." The reaction he got from Naruto was not what he expected. "Oi, what the hell is with that look? Please let that be my loot for kicking your ass, please let that be my loot for kicking your ass, please let that be my loot for kicking your ass," he began, almost chanting, something his clones soon joined in on. It was more than a little creepy. Usui really didn't like the chant and showed it by going after Naruto's clones with a vengeance, his cloak naturally disrupting them due to its chakra absorption properties, but even with that they managed to get in a few hits, slowly chopping away at his health. Unfortunately for Naruto, he barely got any chakra back from the dispelled clones as Usui's damnable cloak was eating it all. It was Kisami's sword all over again. The non-clone moved in quick to attack since jutsu was all but useless in this situation, which meant he was going to have to rely on taijutsu and bukijutsu. It was quick to turn fierce as the pair exchanged blows, Naruto finding out quickly he had to dodge more against this guy. He only realized it when the cloak that he was told was made from chakra-absorbing fiber turned out to be made from thousands of tiny razor-sharp, diamond-hard blades, something he discovered painfully after he sliced up his hand on one particularly vicious punch to Usui's solar plexus. Sure, it hurt Usui, but it hurt him more. After that he made an adjustment that left Naruto using his trench knives as pseudo-brass knuckles, which while they didn't get much if any penetration with that cloak, it did protect his hands and allow him to fight on. In the end, it was the turning point in the fight, as equally matched as they were for speed and agility, Naruto still hit harder, a lot hard, meaning it became a war of attrition, something he definitely wasn't about to lose. "Hey, I underestimated you, kid," said Usui, laying on his back, the fight over. He was bruised and battered and completely beaten. "It happens," said Naruto. "So, I'm going to knock out now so the guards can arrest you." "That's fine by me, not like they'll be able to hold me for long after today," Usui warned, chuckling a bit at the end, which turned into a painful cough, the man wincing in pain from most likely more than a few broken ribs. "Congratulations. Solo event Tanzaku Joe, Infiltrators completed. You are awarded 500,000 express." "Why don't I like the sound of that?" asked Naruto. As if to answer his question, he was rewarded with another message. Solo event Tanzaku Joe, Ascenders DV-56, a local bandit army is looking to take this long-standing castle as its new stronghold. Prevent them from taking the keep and drive them out. Defend the castle's outer walls from the bandits trying to scale the walls and defeat Oyabun no Nishi. Recommended level, 33. Status. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Class, The Gamer. Title, Genin plus 10% increase to experience gain. Level, LV38. Next level, 35.58%. Affiliation, Konoha. HP, 9413 9413. CP, 6105 6105. Stat, base plus bonus equals total. STR, 142 plus 79 equals 221. VIT, 125 plus 436 equals 561. Dex, 142 plus 93 equals 235. Int, 116 plus 115 equals 231. Wis, 148 plus 263 equals 411. Luck, 56 plus 70 equals 126. Def, 559 plus 140 equals 699. SPD, 105 plus 188 equals 293. HPR, 56 plus 136 equals 193. CPR, 41 plus 653 equals 694. Status, Uzumaki Clan Heir, plus 100 Vit, plus 100 Int, plus 150% experience to Fuinjutsu skill Kyuubi Jinchuriki, plus 100 HP and plus 100 CP per level inspirational leader, plus 25% to experience gain to any team you are part of Kamikaze, minus 25% cost to Futon Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Futon Jutsu. Uzumaki Naruto was the dead last of this year's graduating class, rating so low because of his inability to create a basic bunshin. Naruto proved his worth after the test when he stopped a traitor and learned 2A ranked Kenjutsu. His family is now revealed and the legacy of his origin is something to be overwhelmingly proud of. He is the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and the Nadaime Kyuubi Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina. But that still leaves the question, how did the Kyuubi escape? Point. 0. Ryo. 1,226,675.